Welcome to the Horror Hangout, a podcast where film fans watch the best and worst horror movies of all time and talk about them. My name is Ben Errington, and today I'm joined by regular co-host Mr.
Andy Conduit Turner. Hello, Ben. You all right?
I'm all right, mate. How are you?
Yeah, not so bad. Not so bad. Getting all right for a Monday.
Yeah, and today we've got a very, very special returning guest. Janine Pipe is the director of forthcoming short films Her and Footsteps. Janine.
Thank you very much.
Hello.
I think it's the third time on the show, so yeah.
There we go.
Definitely a recurring guest, yeah.
Definitely a recurring guest. Exactly. You get all the Horror Hangout benefits soon. We'll send you an email about that.
Awesome.
I reckon we're going to have to work this out, Ben. There's going to have to be a certain number of appearances before you get a golden one.
I'm going to say you've got recurring guest, and then you've got friend of the show. So, Janine, friend of the show, if you'd like to be.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. And then after that, acquaintance, and then eventually, best buds. That's how it works. I've not pushed Andy into any of those categories just yet.
No.
Colleague only.
Associate.
Oh, yeah, this is my friend. Oh, wait, whoa. Colleague. Professional. Let's keep it professional.
Yeah, we're pros around here. Never let anything anyone else says ever fool you. They're anything other than professional.
So, Janine, you've been incredibly busy. So busy, in fact, that I'm pretty sure I go, Janine, what's happening next? And there's so many cool, interesting things.
Even a day with him, I am extremely specific to the 90s, and then reminding myself that actually some of the people that watch these things are so picky that if I don't have something that is exactly from the 90s, I will.
Like a scene with kids.
I think the 90s because some of those phones, Jesus Christ.
Lovely Samsung T100. I mean, polyphonic ringtones, don't get me wrong, but look at the resolution on that picture. It's no wonder you're not sure whether your friend's alive or dead or not. We're like, you look at that picture on that screen, but seems legit. It could be anyone.
Picture. Let me get out my cables so you can transfer me the picture. Come on, print it out on a Game Boy Color.
Yeah. Literally the pixelated face. Is it your Icelandic friend who's gone missing? Is it original 8-bit Super Mario? No one knows.
But not just the technology, haircuts as well. I've never looked at I've watched films from the 80s all the time, and I just go, nice hair. This film, 2005, I've gone, what is going on with your hair?
I think it's the late 90s, early 2000s that suffers for it the most, because I think mentally in our heads, we assume that nothing has changed. The one that gets me the most for it is The Matrix. Very particularly, you watch The Matrix, which is set in sort of near future technology. It's the phones and the sunglasses in particular. And they were so cool. They were so cool when it came out. And then you watch it now, it's like,
certain amount of time needs to go by for it to become like retro and timeless, doesn't it? This sort of 20-year period is pretty difficult for that.
It's a harsh time.
Yeah. But very exciting casting news as well for Footsteps as well. Janine, have you cast all of the roles now?
Yes, everything's cast now. Yeah, because it was only a very, very small cast anyway. So to be able to, get some real sort of amazing UK indie actors, we've been very, very lucky. And everybody's really involved as well. At this stage, we've got sort of a WhatsApp group where we're always saying, it's set in the woods and it's to do with camping, so it's like, has anybody got a tent, and it could be anybody that sort of replies, cast and crew and whatnot. So it's very hands-on being completely indie, but everybody's really into it, so that's really nice as well. Everybody's excited, and so it's just already a lovely atmosphere. Most of us have either worked with each other, everybody has worked with somebody else. So there's nobody that's like the new kid at school kind of like coming in and doesn't know anyone. Most of us have all worked together, and quite a few of them have worked with other people. So it's going to be a great time, definitely.
That's nice. And you've got a little crossover from Footsteps with Her as well, right?
Yes, because Bella's in it. Bella was our main actress in Her, and she's the main actress in Footsteps. And her partner Chris, who was in him, is crew now on Footsteps as well. I've got the same DOP, same AD, so loads of crossovers.
That's nice. I feel like Bella in particular has really come to, like, I've seen her in a lot just recently. I'm not sure if it was before you or after. It was roughly the same time that you announced her as being in Her with you. I also saw Eating Miss Campbell, which she's in, which is great.
Oh yes,
Yeah, she's really good. I'm looking forward to I'm looking forward to both very much.
Yeah, Bella's wonderful. She's definitely someone to watch out for, because she's still doing these lower level things. Eating Miss Campbell was a bit, because that's a trauma film, so that's kind of like another step up and everything. But yeah, she's going places definitely. So I won't be able to afford her next time.
Not a chance. They'll be giving you the budgets, Janine. The producers will be throwing money at you.
There we go.
Let's hope so.
And then, of course, the making of The Descent. That's on. I guess, is that something that's ongoing at the moment? Was that always the? Sorry, I don't want to ask you two questions in one. I apologize, Janine. I was going to say, was that always the idea to write the Descent book after the Dog Soldiers book, or was that just because of the success of that one?
It was certainly the hope that would happen, but obviously at the time, where I didn't know what Neil and I's relationship would be like, how sausages would sell, or what people would think of it and everything. But in the back of my mind, it was definitely, if this one does well, maybe we can do this. And thankfully, not only have Neil and I become obviously really good friends and everything, it was so good doing sausages that it was kind of inevitable that we would do this, really. And this time when I said to him, do you fancy co-authoring this time? And he was like, yeah, definitely, let's do that. Let's do the whole thing collaboratively. So I was like,
awesome. How did you find that process? Like, did it feel any different for you based on the first book?
The book won't be released until 2025. Okay. Because that's the 20th anniversary. So we're only in the very, very early stages so far of going through boxes and because everything is, all the photos are just, like they're all printed off or on CD-ROMs and things. All of the scripts and call sheets and everything's pieces of paper, because obviously it's nearly 20 years ago. So we're just going through all of the boxes of things at the moment. And that was like, for me, it was like being a kid in a sweet shop, sat in his office, just going through all these boxes of stuff and going, oh, look, this one's from Centurion, let's put that in that part. This one's from Doomsday, let's put in that. It was just like, this is amazing. So exciting.
That's really
cool. I'm allowed one request at this point, Janine. What I would love for the back cover of the book, I would love a picture of you and Neil shining a torch down the hole where they go for the descent. If you could do a road trip and just get that picture for me, that would be spot on.
That would be amazing, wouldn't it?
Looking curiously, maybe one of you with a torch and one of you with a magnifying glass, getting ready to...
How are you with enclosed spaces? Are you claustrophobic at all, Janine?
Massively. That's why the film scared the shit out of me. Hugely claustrophobic. But all of the cave stuff was done in Pinewood Studios. None of it's real.
See, there we go.
Safe then. At least you're not going to.
Just from that little snippet, I know I'm going to be reading this book as well.
Yeah. Let's say you say that, and like it makes complete sense. As soon as you said, you would have never imagined it on your own. When someone said, "Yeah, of course," who would have insured you to go and film in this cave? What if there'd really been horrible blind monsters down there?
I did see. Yeah. Was there like did Neil share like an international DVD cover from The Descent, or was that you? There was like a promotional poster or DVD cover. Yeah, was that right?
Yeah, that was somebody sent that to me.
Wow. Okay.
And said you should show Neil this. And then Neil managed to find one that was like that for Dog Soldiers as well, which is amazing.
Jesus. Oh wait, so it was naughty, not a it wasn't just like an international poster.
It is just that it is the actual film. They have, so it's not like a porno version of it, but it's like
okay.
The film cover's got like naked ladies and stuff on the front because there's loads of naked ladies in those films. Obviously.
It's an all-female cast, this film. How are we gonna market that? Don't you worry about it. I've got the best.
I've got an idea.
Dog Soldiers, there's one woman character in it, two women characters, one. And then
one at the beginning.
One at the beginning, yeah. How are we going to market that as well? That sounds like the opposite.
Yeah.
Just do the same.
Yeah.
Just do the same.
Yeah, that's it.
Wow.
It's brilliant, yeah.
It's weird when this stuff sort of comes out of the out of the shadows, wouldn't it?
So I'm glad you're there collating it.
Yeah, really, really looking forward to that. So, any listeners, be sure to go and follow Janine on all social platforms because there are lots of updates and it's good. I like it. Very exciting. I guess we should do just like a little bit of horror news because one big piece of news is something that affects all of us, which is the Fright Fest 2023 lineup has been confirmed and announced, and Horror Hangout podcast, me, Andy, and Luke Condor with a K will all be attending the entire event from start to finish. Are we going to get official Horror Hangout t-shirts, hats, and shoes? Are we wearing the whole shebang?
At least one of those things. Maybe one of us will have one of them each. So which one do you want?
Yeah, exactly. So if you're there and you see us, definitely come and say hello because we'll be in uniform. We'll be in Horror Hangout uniform, just in case anyone doesn't recognize us. Because of course they will. Of course they will. Obviously. Without the t-shirts. Yeah. That's why we put the podcast on YouTube. Otherwise
you can see and make sure you know exactly what we look like. No, I like to be anonymous when they say you sneak into these things. People don't see you coming until they read your t-shirt, of course.
So super exciting. Andy's already done like a part one write-up of like a preview of some of the films that are being shown. There are going to be a couple more parts to that. I think we're also going to do like a bit of a bonus episode as well, aren't we? Where we kind of talk about things.
Yeah, we'll do some more coverage. We're going to spread it over the next couple of weeks, and then I'm going to load my watch list as I did. Anyone who's read the first preview piece already, thanks. If you haven't, it's on our Patreon, but it doesn't require you to have a Patreon account or subscribe to us. It's there free for everyone. Where there are trailers for the movies that I picked out from the first set, you can go and watch the trailer. You can see the posters, and I've had a little section underneath as to where would I know these people from. So what have the behind the camera and in front of the camera people done before? So you can do a little bit of pre-watching, do a little bit of prep, or if you're unable to attend in person because you live thousands of miles away, you can see what you can watch instead to try and get into the mindset and join in. I'm going to try and watch as many of the pre-watch things as I can.
It is extensive coverage, I will say, Andy. It's very, very good work. Any films in particular you're looking forward to, Janine?
Founders Day.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That is...
I like a good slasher.
Yeah.
So,
I'm looking forward to the Japanese horror documentary, which is called J Horror?
The J Horror Virus?
J Horror Virus, that's right, yeah. So I was kind of hyped for that anyway. And then when I realized it was being shown as well, I was very, very excited about that. There was a couple of documentaries I'll be looking forward to seeing. Dr. Jekyll, of course. Andy Edwards' Punch.
I'm looking forward to a bit of Punch.
Flesh.
Yeah.
Some screeners of some classics as well, right? Was it seeing The Exorcist on the big screen and The Conjuring as well because it turns 10 this year. So yeah, there's absolutely loads for us to get our teeth into. So yeah. Try and hopefully within the next week or so we'll put out a sort of bonus episode talking about the lineup completely. But Janine, you're attending as well, so we're gonna meet in person for the first time. Probably get a little photo together,
I would imagine so. Yeah,
I'd imagine so.
I might have the Horror Hangout shoes on just in case.
Oh, get the shoes, yeah, if you could.
Limited edition.
That'd be spot on.
Only one pair made.
We'll save this, Janine, and then in a few years' time, when you're, treading the Hollywood Walk of Fame and stuff like that, and they'll be like, "This is a picture of us with Janine Pipe in at Fright Fest 2023."
I'm still calling her every day, saying, "Can you get me a role in your new film?" Leave me alone. Oh wait, I just thought another documentary. There's a documentary about the movie Wreck, Terror Without Pools. Initially, I thought it was a new Wreck film when I saw the poster. But yeah, I'll be looking forward to that.
It's such a lineup as well. So there are 70 films being screened. I don't know if that is including or excluding like the shorts as one thing or each individual, but that's a lot of things going on. I feel, Ben, that this is going to require a spreadsheet so we can max. I mean, I'm not against us seeing a film together. I'm hanging around with two of my friends for a weekend. We can see a film together at some point. We're like, right, what is the highest percentage we can cover of this?
Yeah.
But yeah, I do intend to be running around a lot over the weekend.
This is our first time. But you've been before, haven't you, Janine?
Yes, so I last year, yeah.
Okay. So we're going to be official Fright Fest virgins. We're going to be doing all the touristy stuff, posing on the steps. Me and Andy
Yeah,
draped
got
across
done.
draped across each side of the steps. Luke in the middle, maybe.
I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, looking
wait.
forward to it, definitely. Okay. Other piece of horror news is this is a very Andy Conduit Turner flavored piece of news, if that's the right way of describing it. There's a teaser trailer for Godzilla -1. So the
I watched that immediately.
Yeah, the next official announcement, which is the Toho's next movie is titled Godzilla -1. The first Japanese-produced Godzilla horror film since Shin Godzilla. When did that come out?
I enjoyed Shin Godzilla. I'd have to check the date. It's longer ago than you'd think.
So set in post-war Japan, Godzilla -1 will once again show us a Godzilla that is terrifying and an overwhelming force. What? That doesn't sound like Godzilla. Which you already get a sense of from the teaser trailer and the poster, apparently. But yeah, it's a very I really like the teaser poster as well. It's really cool. But yeah, so that is coming out November the 3rd, and we'll get a theatrical release in the US on December the 1st. So Japan, November the 3rd. How do you feel about this, Andy?
I'm looking forward to it. Trailer looked really good. I really enjoyed Shin Godzilla because it has the opposite of the problem I have in a lot of films where the situations are fine. I can suspend my disbelief of a lot of things. I can see ghoulies from beyond the stars and all sorts, but I just hate it when people are shit at their jobs in stuff. Whereas in Shin Godzilla, I feel like everyone's trying their best to do a good job, and it's a bit bureaucratic and everything. But there isn't like, oh, the bad senator that's digging their heels in. Everyone's just trying their hardest not to be killed by a Godzilla. And I don't mind Godzilla being a monster. My favorite ones growing up was where is friendly Godzilla who helps people against other monsters. And in fact, for the upcoming US-centric series of Godzilla, I've recorded a bite-sized episode about that, speculating as to who the new baddie's going to be in Godzilla. Are we saying Godzilla X Kong or Cross Kong or whatever that is?
X Kong.
Yeah, Godzilla X Kong. I'm here for it. I'm interested in it, but it can get in the bin compared to a Toho Godzilla, which I love. Original Godzilla is so much fun.
We need to share that bite-sized episode. Are you a Godzilla fan, Janine? Do you like the big bloke?
I don't mind Godzilla. I don't think I've watched a film for years, so in my mind it would be the really old black and white ones and stuff, probably the ones I would have watched as a kid.
Not a 1998 Matthew Broderick Godzilla.
I have seen that. One. Yeah.
He's tiny, though,
not my favorite of the monsters, but they're usually quite good fun though, as long as you suspend your belief with it all, definitely.
Yeah. Andy, how does that the 1998 Godzilla size up to a usual Godzilla?
The size of Godzilla changes, but much smaller typically. I think in early 2000s, Godzilla Final Wars, which has all of them in it. It was one of the last ones that particular studio did for a long time. They have the American Godzilla in it, so it's considered that there is another monster that was mistaken for in the Japanese continuity. They say that a monster that looked a bit like Godzilla and was mistaken for Godzilla attacked New York, and they just call it Zilla or something like that. And in Godzilla Final Wars, it gets control of this monster is taken by aliens, and actual Godzilla smashes him into the Sydney Opera House and then vaporizes him.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's what he would deserve. Very weird face. He's got a very big Jimmy Hill chin, that Godzilla, and he's like, all right. All right.
I still remember the story. I forget which. I heard this on a podcast, but apparently when the team unveiled what the Godzilla was going to look like to the Japanese executives, they had it they had some ceremony about showing them what it looked like, and they brought them all in for this meeting. They flew them all over. They were all there to meet them, and they had the scale model of what their Godzilla was going to look like underneath, like a cloth that they were going to unveil like a sculpture. And apparently they unveiled it, and the rumors speculate as to how long it was, but they apparently sat in silence for about 5 minutes and didn't say anything, and then they had to just leave and go away and say, "Well, we'll talk to you about this tomorrow," and they left, and then they came back the next day, and they were like,
Oh no!
"You have to
At
look
least
up
they-
what that trivia is." I will look it up and report back.
At least they
but there
stuck
is
to their
a
guns
story along those lines. Yeah,
and didn't change it like Sonic. Okay, next piece.
arguably that was for the best.
Definitely. Next piece of news is that the original Clock Tower game is being remastered by WayForward. It never ever got a release in like US and Europe. It was Japan only, wasn't it? The point and click adventure game, horror game. This was during the limited run games announcement for this week. Yeah, I think horror game fans are eating good. Even the games that aren't as sort of mainstream as others seem to be getting some major releases. So this is very, very exciting. I was familiar with the Clock Tower games from like PS1 and PS2. So this one I was never particularly familiar with, but this is the original, right, Andy?
Yeah, it is. I've never played Clock Tower 1 because I don't speak Japanese. But played Clock Tower 3 an awful lot on the play. I think I finished that bad boy. Yeah, I'm looking forward to this remake. I'm looking forward to it a lot, and I might be inspired to go and do the whole series.
This would be a good slasher film, right?
Clock Tower, yeah, guy's got a big pair of scissors. They're perfect for slashing.
Guy with a massive, ridiculous pair of scissors, bigger than like the burning shears as well, and they're like obnoxiously big.
Yeah, obnoxiously big, like big giant scissors. He's in a house. I hope he's not running with them. Maybe that's why the first one's a point and click adventure.
I don't think you can. You can't run with them, can you?
Walk because you have to walk around ever so carefully, and maybe that's the trick. You have to trick him in the game into running, which, if our lessons at school taught us anything, means you'll immediately be killed, I guess, if you do that.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Pair of scissors, it's like netball. If you take more than 3 steps, that is it. The head's just going to explode.
You're done for. That's exciting. And then the last piece of news I got is that Jordan Peele presents Out There Screaming, an anthology of new black horror book with loads of short stories in, which sounds very, very interesting, very exciting. He's not happy enough with directing awesome movies, then getting into the world of podcasting. Now he's getting into the world of books and short stories. He's just trying to hit horror from all angles, and he's trying to take over horror. God, leave some for the rest of us, Jordan Peele. But yeah, this does sound really interesting. I'll probably be checking it out. Loads of choices from very interesting smaller authors as well as sort of well-known names. So yeah, this sounds good.
Here for it. Sounds good.
Yeah, here for it as well, definitely. And who knows, some of these could be good enough, and maybe they'll be how he develops some of his future films as well.
Yeah, it could be a good source of stuff to adapt, right?
Yeah, most definitely.
The other thing we should probably touch on, Ben, news-wise, because it affects us all in a less positive way than Fright Fest. For those following the general Hollywood and movie news, we know that the writers' strike has been going on for a few weeks now. I think Nico and I spoke about it on the Insidious episode, so that's going back a little while now. Been a month or maybe 2 at this point. But as of, late last week, the American Screen Actors Guild have also voted to go on strike, which means pretty much most films that were not already in post-production at this point have shut down. Those that are still going, actors will not be promoting them in the normal way as well. So obviously the whole marketing push that we're going to see for a lot of films coming out is going to change. So for anyone who's not keeping their finger on exactly what release schedules are and everything, I think for anything that's coming to mainstream releases, certainly cinema releases and probably a lot of streaming service releases as well, anything that's imminently out will probably come out on schedule. But we're going to hit a patch where nothing's coming out for a while, or we'll see studios start to scramble and see things they've got in the can that they just never found a slot for will start to be unearthed and put out, which fundamentally means a lot of things. Most importantly, as frustrating it is if something you're looking forward to doesn't come out, people should be paid properly and have proper working conditions. So much like with anything else, certainly from my side, you guys are allowed to disagree with me, but I think people should be paid properly, and our inconvenience of things is probably secondary to people not having decent job security and some of the things they're being put through as well. But doesn't mean you might be waiting a little bit longer for a few things.
Mm. Well, content is endless, so maybe a little break from it will make us realize
it was just a
how
few
much
minutes
we
to
love it.
catch up on some other stuff as well. But
Yeah.
In all seriousness, there's loads of things coming out, and obviously it could mean a lot of things. It could mean we see a rise in the popularity or eyes coming on to, looking for a positive here, on independent things that are coming out outside of the big studio system. And it could be a really good opportunity to have more people see things that maybe would have gone under the radar before.
Yeah, every cloud. Okay, I mean, apart from that, I haven't got any other news for us to discuss. Just what we've been watching. So it can be anything from the last 7 days, horror or horror adjacent. Of course, it's been a little while since you've been on the show, Janine, so don't feel inclined to list everything you've seen since then. But if there's anything at all that horror-wise, new or old, that you've seen recently, that you wanted to shine a light upon.
Oh God, what have I watched recently? I rewatched Lake Mungo a couple of nights ago.
Oh yes, okay.
I watched that a few weeks ago.
Andy, you watched it recently, didn't you?
Yeah, just a couple of weeks back. What did you think, Janine?
I mean, this is actually a film that Neil recommended to me last year, and I watched it and was just absolutely blown away by it. And then I was supposed to be talking about it for another podcast, which has been postponed, but I rewatched it for that and just loved it, probably even more than the first time I watched it, because you're cut off, so you can see all the breadcrumbs that are being dropped all the way through. And it's just one of those films where I can kind of see why it's a little bit polarizing, and that some people just feel it's too much of a slow burn and it doesn't have a payoff. You know, yes, it is. You have to invest in it, but when you actually look at it and just how many different twists and turns there are, and how ambiguous certain bits are, and then that ending, which is just such a punch in the face, really. It's just, I love it. I absolutely love it. It's brilliant.
Yeah, I can't say much fairer than that, Jenny. I think similarly, I thought I can't really describe it as things that happened there that are like, it's not scary in the same sense that something jumping out at you is scary. It's just a deeply unsettling film, right?
Yes.
And those little faces. I think a couple of weeks ago I likened it to Ben, is that, you know, when sometimes you'll just see, like, in a crime reconstruction when you're a kid watching Crime Watch, and like just that sinister look that you get when you see a frozen face on like the CCTV, or they do.
Yeah.
Genuinely, one of my biggest fears growing up as a kid was the e-fits they used to do.
Yeah.
This is what, obviously a person with a big composite face like that coming at you, ever so scary. But
a very niche fear.
It's like a real Ben has quicksand. I did not like photo fits. I found it a deeply unsettling but incredibly well made. Like, really, really, they use every frame of the thing they put together so effectively.
Yeah.
And I think also as well, just having people who genuinely, great skill as an actor, right? Like, to just, you appear like a normal person doing a talking head.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
and it comes
brilliant,
across,
absolutely brilliant.
Comes across really well. Comes across really genuine as well, doesn't it? So, anything else recently? Is that the only thing? Would you say?
You know, when you know that you watch hundreds of things, but now that you've asked me, I can't think of a single thing that I've ever watched.
That you've ever watched? What's that? Dog Soldiers? Never heard of it.
Project Wolf Hunting. Have you seen that yet?
Oh yeah,
got it on my list. It's Korean, right?
Yes, yeah. Absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. They are one of the biggest blood budgets I've ever seen. They used, I think I read it was 2.5 tons of blood or something like that. It is literally all the way through. So it's like, have you seen The Raid?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's like that, you know, it's got all like the fighting and the amazing stuff, but sort of like with just like like The Shining, with the blood coming through the elevator, amount of blood with every fight. It's brilliant, honestly. It's batshit crazy from start to finish. You have to watch it. It's amazing.
I will. I mean, So my question for you, Janine, on that one for Project Wolf Hunting in particular, did you go subtitles or did you have a dubbed copy you could watch?
Oh God, subtitles. I cannot stand dubbed copies. It has to be subtitles.
Yeah, it's just not right, is it?
No.
Andy, anything that you've seen this week you wanted to give a
Checked
mention?
off a few off the old list, Ben, just a couple.
Good.
One, I've been going on Tubi a bit recently because they've got some hidden gems on there. It's a free service. They don't have it in the UK yet, but if you have a VPN, so you can pretend to be a country that does, you can watch that there. So I watched 2015's Your Fear, Ben, not E-Fits like mine. I watched a film called The Sand from 2015, where a load of teenagers being irresponsible, having a booze up on a beach one night before they go away for spring break. They wake up in the morning after getting all tanked up. And funnily enough, only the people that were on structures, like in a car or in the lifeguard tower, are still there. Everyone else has mysteriously disappeared. And it very quickly turns out they've been slurped off into the sand.
Not the sand. Isn't there like a new quicksand movie on Shudder as well? Did I not see that advertised?
Oh, yes, I haven't seen it. But
yeah, that's
maybe a lovely double bill. More The Sand films.
The Sand followed by Quicksand. There we go.
Quicksand, yeah. So I watched The Sand, and then after we talked about it the other week, I carried on in memory of the recently departed Julian Sands. I watched Warlock not long ago. I watched Warlock 2, The Armageddon from 1993.
Oh my God, what a title.
And I tell you what, this film goes far harder than you think it would ever have the business doing, right? Have either of you seen this?
No, I've not seen. Right. I don't think I've seen Warlock.
Allow me to set this. I mean, Warlock is, you think it's going to be quite camp and silly, and in many ways it is. Like, the main heroine of the film in the first one spends 2/3 of the film aged. Like, she slowly gets older and older until she's a really old lady for a little bit, until she breaks the curse with her. Because when he first meets her, the Warlock, the titular Warlock, he curses her to age 20 years every day. So this woman who is probably in her early 20s when is playing like an 80-year-old before she ends up curing that bit. And there's loads of this crazy magic stuff that goes on. Richard E. Grant is like a witch hunter who also travels forward in time to get him. It's madness. Warlock 2, it goes so incredibly hard. We begin with like a medieval scene where there is Deadite level possession, someone thrashing around on a table about to be sacrificed. There's these factions that are warring and people are getting arrowed in the eyes and all sorts of really bloody, violent stuff. And what is like, you would expect it almost to be like, think of the title, like a 1990s sort of magical thriller like The Warlock. It's going to be like, you're thinking He-Man Masters of the Universe, really, but you're not. These terrible things happen, and then literally within 15 minutes of the film, a woman getting ready for a night out, suddenly this weird spell or this curse takes hold, and she quickly carries to full term and then births on her dining room table, all fully in camera, a big horrible placenta monster which eats her sweet little dog and then becomes fully adult, fully naked Julian Sands. We get former guest and friend of the show, Alice Taylor Matthews, would be happy to come and join me. So you get full frontal male nudity in this film.
Full frontal Julian Sands.
Yeah, and before you know it, he's putting people's eyes out. It goes hard on the gore. It is one of the goriest 90s movies that I was not expecting it for, because he's on a mission from Satan to gather. Before Thanos did it, Julian Sands was doing it as the Warlock 2, Armageddon. He's given a couple of days to go and gather all of these Infinity Stones. They're not called Infinity Stones, but they're just these magic stones. He has to gather them all up, and then there's a young couple who, much as the girl's dad doesn't want her to have anything to do with it, only they are the chosen ones that can defeat the devil. Yeah, that's what it's about. It is absolutely crackers.
It sounds absolutely crackers.
And then
I like how you went from watching The Sand to watching Julian Sands.
Julian Sands. but then sadly ruining that. Apart from the film of the week, I watched the 2 sequels to the film of the week, Hostel, which I guess I should talk about maybe at the end after we've talked about the film itself, because it follows on from them. And then I also finally got round to playing that Alone in the Dark demo that came out for the new game that's coming out.
Jesus Christ, it's short.
It is. Have you played it? I was about to say the same. I was like, I thought I'd
It's
done
over
it
before
wrong.
it starts.
I thought I'd genuinely done it wrong. You play as like a little girl. You walk down some stairs. There's a bit of a jump scare. This monster comes out and you have to push a bear over, a stuffed bear, to get over the water. And then, before you know it, Jodie Comer and what's his chops? Hellboy turns up. And that's it. The end. Like, have I done something wrong? Have I accidentally straight lined this demo? No.
It took me like 30 minutes to download it, and then it's over.
This is 15 gig. What's in here?
Yeah, exactly. Horrific. Is that it though, Andy? Did you say?
That's it.
That's it. Okay.
That's it. How about you, Ben?
The only things I've got for this week is I did a bit of a Insidious mission completion of Insidious. So I'd only ever seen 1 and 2. So I watched chapter 3. I watched The Last Key, and then last night I went to the cinema to watch The Red Door, which we discussed a bit last week because we discussed Patrick Wilson's the fact that he's in the movie, he directed the movie, and he sings on a song in the movie as well. So we're like, he does it all, you know. He's got his fingers in every single little pie like that.
You didn't know this, Ben, but you know when you watched the credits at the end of Insidious, when you saw the words coming up there with the titles, Patrick Wilson typed those out.
Yeah, he did by hand. It's true.
Typed them.
He just copied and pasted his name 900 times. That was it. So I don't know if either of you two have seen all of the Insidious films or just some of them. Here's my brief rundown and opinion. I think the first one introduces us to what the world of Insidious is about. I kind of, when I first watched it, I didn't like Lin Shaye and those other 2 guys, the sidekicks to her sidekick, Specs and the other one. I didn't really like those 2 or her very much. However, now I've watched all the films, I'm like, they probably are the best bit about the whole series, because I think the rest of it, I think the second one is a bit derivative, and it's derivative of loads of things. It kind of goes in so many different directions, and it sort of rips off The Shining for a bit. The third one is a bit more interesting because it's steps away from that family, from Patrick Wilson's family. But I prefer this one to chapter 2. I think it's got a few good scares, and Lin Shaye like really comes into her own. Like she goes into the further and like fighting demons with her hands and stuff, boxing, fisticuffs. So yeah, I thought that one was all right, but still, I feel like there are a lot better films. There are a lot of films that get this same sort of formula much more correct. The Last Key was a bit of a mess. Like I didn't really work out what kind of film. It started off as one thing, then it moved on to another, and then the final act was a completely different film. It felt like to me, it was very, very mismatched all over the place. However, The Red Door, which I don't think has been getting that very good reviews, obviously it's kind of works a bit like a legacy sequel, where it's a sequel to the first and second films with all those characters in it. I kind of really enjoyed it. So it's directed by Patrick Wilson, and I feel like you can really see his love for the franchise and the characters going into this. And it just feels like, you know, when you watch something made by James Wan, or you watch something like a horror film made by James Wan, or a horror made by Lee, what's the surname, Andy? Lee Whannell? Lee Whannell? Yeah. When you watch, it's kind of got a certain something to it where you're like, I can identify this as being from those filmmakers. And it feels like most of that goes out of the window, and Patrick Wilson it's a really interesting family story. There's a lot of stuff about PTSD and like repressed memories, as well as like the ghosty stuff. And then it's got like the greatest hits, if you like, of Insidious with old Lipstick Man, whatever he's called.
You would have PTSD, bloody Mr. Insidious. That's what I call
Mr. Insidious, that guy. Yeah, and I kind of liked it, and it does kind of like force in like, oh, Lin Shaye, even though we killed her in the first film, here she is in the 5th film. She's been in every film. Why do they? I bet they're kicking themselves. They're like, what on earth?
Why did you let Patrick Wilson strangle her in the first one?
Yeah, obviously spoilers for Insidious. Apologies. But yeah, I don't think
how old. You're right.
I wouldn't say this film's like great, but I think for a franchise that kind of doesn't have too many high moments, I feel like it ends on a high. So yeah, I'd recommend it if you're a fan of the franchise.
The main question for me, Ben, is: do we get much out of the often overlooked, even by the ghosts, brother of?
Yeah, there's a bit more of the brother, you know.
Foster.
He's still a bit overlooked. However, he's there. He's knocking about.
I haven't forgiven the film since that
same
first
actor
one,
as
where
well.
basically
Same actor.
He's like, oh, did really well on my spelling test this week, and it's like, Foster, like, that's the hardest thing that happens.
We
to
don't
him.
give a shit. Your brother's in a coma. You'll be in a coma soon if you're not careful.
He's such a good boy, and he doesn't get any attention.
Good for him. Yeah, so I mean that is it for me. I've been on an Insidious speed run. But yeah, apart from that, it's the film of the week, which is Hostel. A feel good, a real feel good, warm. It gives you a warm feeling inside watching this. It makes you go, I want to travel the world. So Hostel is a 2005 horror film written and directed by Eli Roth, starring Jay Hernandez, Derek Richardson, Eyþór Guðjónsson. So one key thing is that it's executive produced by Quentin Tarantino, and at the very start of the film it says Quentin Tarantino presents. So you go, what? I can't believe it. Obviously, there was a brief period of time where him and Eli Roth were, what would you say? He was his, I don't want to say protege. It sounds a bit
BFFs.
BFFs, yeah.
Technical term.
Yeah.
Technical term. Because when did Inglourious Basterds come out? Around about this time, right? I think so.
I mean, in geological terms, definitely.
Yeah.
Similar era. Definitely.
Same sort of phones. So this film follows a group of American tourists as they end up in Slovakia, where they are there's always spoilers in these synopses. Where they are taken in by an organization that's, I'm going to say, very shady. It basically says the plot there. So yeah, this obviously came out in 2005 and then spawned, as you mentioned, 2 sequels. Andy, 2007's Hostel Part 2 and Hostel Part 3, 2011. I've not seen either of those. But do I remember, was there something with a bathtub and like a slicey in Hostel in one of them? There was, wasn't there?
There is a bathtub and a slicey in the second.
I've seen a clip of that, and I think I enjoyed that clip more so than I enjoyed any of this film. So there we go.
You would enjoy. I mean, this isn't part of this film. We'll talk about it now. Even if you wanted to kill people as a hobby because you've experienced the highs and lows of life, and there are no such thing as real Cenobites in the Hostelverse, but would you want someone's blood over you in a bath?
Well, I don't know.
Certainly not. Have you seen the conditions that these places are? It's not as if there's a lovely shower room next door, a lovely place, because you're going to want to rinse that off.
No, it's a pressure washer around the back. Can I also mention another thing, right? Have you seen the poster where it's like a man holding a chainsaw phallically? He's holding it like it's his appendage, and it's like a sort of side profile. Have you seen this poster?
Don't want to do
Who
that.
is that guy?
You might get your foot with it.
This
not
guy,
a sensible way to use tools, is it?
This guy has got like the most chiseled face. He's got almost like some sort of like leather sex mask on. Who is that guy? Because the only guy who wields a chainsaw in this is like some useless dweeb.
But he Mr. Beans it.
Mr. Bean, yeah. Oh no, whoopsie.
Wow. That was, yeah.
It's not very Mr. Bean. It's Frank Spencer. If you played the theme tune to Some Others Do Have Them over the torture sequence, it would work. What?
Yeah, some people dress as like surgeons. Some people wear their leather mask. He just puts his little beret on and his roller skates. He just roller skate through the streets of Slovakia with those little kids chasing after him.
Well, yeah, because there's dangerous stunts in Some Others Do Have Them. He could have avoided that car when it crashed into all of the people towards the end.
When it mowed this. Oh, look, there's all my enemies. Run them over in one.
There's all my enemies in one go. I can immediately get them all with one. That's good. Okay, so ratings.
There's only 10 minutes left. Quick.
Ratings wise, this has got a 5.9 on IMDb, on Rotten Tomatoes, 59% critic score, 53% audience score, 2.7 on Letterboxd, and some choice reviews from Letterboxd. Wade says, this is Saul's wacky cousin, 2.5 stars. Josiah Morgan says, primarily a comedy rooted in the inversion of the psychedelic realist horror that jolted us through the 90s, enforced by the post-2001 panic. 5 stars. I mean, it's a great review.
More academic thought into that than it perhaps deserves, Joel.
Yeah, exactly. Movie Boy says, Eli Roth pitching this movie. Okay, so it's a horror movie where the monster is Europeans. It's like generic Europeans as well, because everyone at one point everyone's speaking German. And do you think it just suffers from that rule where Americans go, I'm holidaying in Europe? And it's like, well, where do you mean? Do you mean Paris or do you mean Skegness? Which one is it?
To a degree, and
just Europe, yeah,
generic Europe. That one country. Well, they're in Amsterdam at the beginning, right?
Yeah. Yes, yeah.
Implying that all there is to do in Amsterdam is to do weed or have sex with prostitutes.
Do weed. Go on. That's it. And then final review, Lizzie says, starts off as an intensely alpha energy piece of bro dude man schlock that is almost completely hides the fact that it grows into one of the dirtiest, grisliest slashers in its vein. 4 stars. So an interesting cross section there, I think. What is everybody's relationship with this film? Did you both see it like when it came out back in 2005? Yeah,
I did. Yeah.
So it was kind of like would you say like the jewel in the crown of the torture porn like sort of movie thing? It was the most mainstream of those films, wasn't it?
Yes, and it's certainly the one that immediately comes to mind. If you mention the word torture porn, it's immediately Eli Roth, immediately Hostel. And I hadn't seen it again for quite a few years. I had got parts of Hostel mixed up with Hostel 2 and was disappointed that it was Hostel and not Hostel 2 that we were watching. And I have to say, I don't know whether I'm more jaded now or whether I've seen too much, but I was like, where's all the good stuff, because this is such a grisly film, it's banned in so many places. And I just like kept waiting for some really horrific stuff to happen. And it never did. In my opinion. Maybe I've watched too much sick stuff.
Yeah, maybe a bit jaded. Yeah, maybe we have, because I kind of felt the same. Maybe we have seen too many things, because the amount of films we've seen where we're like, this is going to have you throwing up. You're not going to be able to look at the screen when this happens. Yeah, there wasn't really anything. Even the things that I think, looking back at it, you think that is probably the most memorable moment from this film. Even that, I was a bit like, it's fine. Standard.
Yeah. I was disappointed.
Yeah.
I think
the
things that I genuinely found myself wincing away from was the dialogue in the first half. It was like, you can't say that. Oh my God, no. Like, I can't tell you any of the things that I really winced at because I would immediately be cancelled.
It's like
there is a scene like and their night out in Amsterdam and the nightclub they have where they use things which are genuinely considered slurs now, covering race, learning ability, and sexuality within one single scene. It's like, oh my goodness.
Yeah. But this is the thing, like obviously it reminded me of like an American teen comedy at this point. But
these are the American Pie dudes.
Yeah, but not played for laughs.
Wrong.
So not played for laughs. So it just so strange.
Yeah, rather than having sex with the interesting like European exchange student, they meet the European exchange student in Europe and are murdered as a result.
Yeah. I mean, how are we supposed to feel like we're rooting for anybody or wanting anybody to get through this?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how we're supposed to think that. I mean, a character is introduced at one point and then ends up being involved towards the end as well. And maybe that's the character we're supposed to be hoping survives. But apart from that, like the 3 main dudes, so Paxton, Josh, And is it Ollie, the Icelandic?
Ollie, yeah.
I want to say,
Yeah.
dude, he's a man in his 40s, right? He says he's got a family. He's just, I got a family. I'm just out here chilling. It's just like, wow, very strange. But yeah,
Big
they're
divorced
all
energy on him though.
big divorce. Oh yeah, massive divorced energy. Yeah. Oh yeah, Dad's taking a divorce. Well, where's he gone? Apparently he's in Amsterdam right now.
Yeah, he's turned 40 and he's like, right, that's it. Off to Amsterdam to hang out with some 20-year-olds.
How'd you know he's gone? Well, his coat's missing, and he loves that coat. He wears it everywhere.
He's the only one that's got a coat anything like this. You ask anywhere else in the single country of Europe, if you see someone wearing an orange jacket like that, it's him.
Did you notice?
It's his coat. If you see a stranger wearing that coat, you accuse him of stealing it. Where do you get that coat from?
The coat scene is a rip-off of Home Alone, Lost in New York. The airport scene when he's chasing after his dad, who thinks is his dad, if he's wearing the same coat. I was like, you can't rip off Home Alone like this.
Except rather than an airport, they chases him through a museum of torture.
The guy didn't even seem like he wanted to go in a museum of torture.
He doesn't look at any of the exhibits. He just kind of goes in and marches through. I was like, oh, someone told me I've got to go and see the Museum of Torture, so better go then. Just
yeah.
I mean,
someone's given him that coat from Ollie and gone, no, go out in it, test it out. I don't want to, I've got nowhere to go today. Go around the Museum of Torture. Got a new exhibit on. All right, but I'm not stopping to read the plaques. I'm literally just walking through. Fine.
Get as fast as possible. Speed walking. They're running after him and they can't catch him. I just think it's not aged gracefully, has it? And I think, but everything from the dialogue, the characters, the scenarios, to even there's not a great amount of tension. It's not, so many films have kind of got this sort of situation right, which is, how many films have we seen where rich people are paying to mutilate the normal folk? I don't know. There's obviously a lot more of those sort of films now, and even like films with really intense moments of gore as well. That maybe like almost 20 years later, 18 years later, it's just that shock factor has kind of been dulled down a little bit, possibly. Yeah, which is and I don't know. As I said,
it comes to it, like, the idea politically where you stand, and that I guess the worldview is something that we've probably become more sensitive to in the world. I know that in 2005 when it came out, I recall from the day I saw this at the cinema, and I remember it being said, the Slovakian tourist board are not happy with them making this film. And at the time, when you're a teenager, it comes, what they're making a fuss about. Now you can look back and say, kind of would have been pissed off. Could have been a bit. Can I just begin, actually, Ben? We're going to try and redress the balance a little bit today. Can I tell you a little bit about travelsafety.org and what they have to say overall about Slovakia?
Yes, please.
Well, they actually say that Slovakia is a very, very safe country and has low rates of crime, even by European standards, and that violent crime is nearly unheard of in the country. So actually, everyone, don't let this film put you off. Slovakia, very nice, good weather.
What about gangs of like kids from Oliver Twist?
It doesn't mention them. It doesn't mention that they exist. Although, you know what they do have? Over 1,600 of mineral springs.
Very nice.
Over 1,000 mineral springs, and within its borders,
you know what made that work for me?
2,000 caves. So ever so interesting.
Well, that's some descent research in Slovakia.
No.
What I enjoyed the most about you delivering that line was I heard you hit the space bar. As you said, you went mineral springs. It sounded like that anyway.
I did. I just moved my phone. It was over my note.
Like you had a PowerPoint open. Just
moving it on. No. Well, I've got a few more Slovakia facts, which we'll come to later. I might save it for the quiz at the end.
Yes, please do, because name games not nigh on impossible, right?
I've got one, maybe two, but I've got some Slovakia-based quiz for you when we finish to try and redress the balance.
So is this like, it's Slovakia, but do they have a name like where they are?
Yeah, they say it's not far from the capital. I don't think so. Not even the middle of nowhere in Slovakia. Just in and around the capital city.
But he got
of this really well-developed European country.
Yeah. Oh wow. Okay. So, I guess we should sort of jump into the plot. I guess
where we begin.
Where do we begin? So, two college students, Paxton and Rodriguez. No, Paxton and Josh. It's Paxton Rodriguez. Sorry. I know I mentioned the haircuts already, but there's a lot of wet look gel in this in this hair. I don't want to say. I mean, I'm no longer burdened by hair. However, I definitely probably had somebody's hair. My hair is probably more similar to Josh's. Like when I was in school, though, I wouldn't go out to Europe. I wouldn't go out to Europe as a whole in general with this haircut. It was just when I was at school. But yeah, and they meet up with their divorced dad friend, Ollie, Eric. All the names in this as well, right? Ollie Eriksson. The two Slovakian women they meet, Natalia and Svetlana. I just feel like these are names that I would have come up with, like in 2005. Give us two Slovakian names. Well, I don't know, Natalia and Svetlana. That's good. It's so obvious, isn't it?
Not a lot of thought, yeah.
Not a lot.
And then, of course, the Icelandic guy. What's his last name going to be? Eriksson.
Yeah, that's good. Get it in.
Here they are. I think we had in the beginning scene, just before we introduced our rowdy boys out there, we had like a little bit over the credits of someone doing some lovely cheerful whistling while they like mop up like a gruesome murder scene. It's like, don't know why you bothered, mate. Like, if you think that's done, it's not. You want to talk to the owners of this like murder club and probably tell them you probably need more than an hour a week on your cleaner at this point. Because you might have cleared up the visible mess with that in a clean room.
No.
So where do they
turn
start?
it around and do a wedding reception in there next weekend, are you? No.
Absolutely not.
So we begin with the boys in Amsterdam, and they do some.
I think the first thing we hear them say is Amsterdam, baby. Like that. So they're knocking about in Amsterdam, and it's like the most cliched, like caricature of Amsterdam ever. You know, I mean, it is, isn't it? I know it can be like that if you choose it to be, but this is almost like they've just gone, yeah, this is exactly what it's
to
like.
Amsterdam, went to a business conference. Everyone rides bikes around all the place. Very pretty, very nice. Good eateries. I at no point when I got off the plane shouted Amsterdam, baby, just ordered an Uber quietly.
You missed out, and you missed out on that.
Should have stepped out of the air. I think you said that they would turn you around and put you back on the plane.
So they're like in one of those coffee shops, smoking a number, smoking a bit of Mary Jane. And they're talking about, we should go to some museums or something, and they go, absolutely not.
Yeah, absolutely not. In fact, at this point, do they say to Josh, "Oh, geez, you got to stop being such a misery about not being with your old girlfriend anymore. You've got to go out there and, sleep with some more people." Yeah, it's all right, I will. And they go to a nightclub. But Josh ruins it by having a bum bag.
Oh, yeah. Wait. Yeah, that is kind of confusing, isn't it? Because there's another guy with a bum bag in there, or fanny pack, if that's
and
that
they're like, "Oh, why don't you go and have bum bag sex with him and like jizz all over his Filofax or whatever he says, something like that." Genuinely, one of the only repeatable lines from the film. This section is,
I reckon having a bum bag
sex with him.
Having a bum bag in a nightclub, especially in 2023, I reckon you'd be the center of attention.
What's that? Oh, it is more secure, isn't it? That's ever so clever.
Incredibly secure.
Where do you get those?
Things in there.
People be firing up their phones and getting on Etsy. All right, hold on.
Whereas obviously when I hate so many things about this scene. Number one, they go, hey, where's Ollie? And suddenly they receive a photo of him like in the toilet with a woman taking on a 1 megapixel camera. People have got digital cameras in this as well, haven't they?
Yeah. Yeah, they do.
I was chatting with someone recently. People used to take digital cameras on nights out, and they take like 400 photos and just upload them directly to MySpace or whatever. With
not even the cloud.
Not even the cloud, just straight to
storage.
MySpace. I said you wake up the next day and it'd be like you've been tagged in 95 photos, and most of them, maybe
Blurred.
a chin was that going that way, and
yeah. So yeah, I mean, Ollie has brought out his digital camera. So while having sex, I mean, I'm sure very stimulating sex this one, but he does have time to take the photo, take the memory card out of his camera, put it into his phone, send an MMS message with roaming charges to his American friends in a nightclub. You go, where's Ollie? Oh, here he is.
I'm gonna say that no one had fun in that toilet if that's what's happening. Wait there a second, I've just taken a really great photo. Could I just upload it to the God, enjoy yourself.
Live in the moment, Ollie. Jeez.
And they get kicked out, and when they get kicked out, like I said, there's a bit of a fight, isn't there? When they get kicked out,
they bump into a man who then shoves him, and then in a complete flip reverse of character, mild-mannered Josh basically the glass breaks and briefly becomes Stone Cold Steve Austin.
But I kind of thought
kicks off on this man.
I thought we were going to find out more about this because that happens, and then there's a moment later where someone touches him. He's like, no, don't touch me, don't touch me. I thought, okay, interesting character development. We're going to find out a little bit more about why he doesn't like people's hands on him. Do we fuck?
just a bit of casual homophobia. We'll check that off the list when we get to it.
Oh yeah.
Before we do that anyway, they get bounced out of the nightclub, and they say, oh, it's all. I mean, I'm paraphrasing here. He implies that it is a gay bar which they would not care to visit, and say that you need one of those fanny packs to get in there because that is an indication of being gay. So that's what they talk about, and then they go and.
I'm not laughing at that particular. I'm just laughing at your explanation of it.
Trying to explain it like David Attenborough.
Hang on a minute. Why would having more storage upon me make me suddenly homosexual?
Oh, that's how it was in those days.
They're unrelated, those two things.
Yeah,
completely unrelated.
Practicality is those things go hand in hand.
Yeah,
it's not just a gender thing. Janine, maybe you can tell us. I wasn't a woman in the early 2000s. Did only homosexual women have pockets in their trousers in those days? Would they be? If soon as you saw a woman with pockets, oh, that's how you know. Sure, sign. So yeah, they're not a fan of that. They are a fan of just drinking on the beach, and then they think, oh, I'll tell you what, then let's go to the red light district to get Josh some more people to have sex with.
What are they saying? What are they saying they're saying some very strange things to the ladies in the windows as well.
Well, they're in the windows first, and they fat shame that I would say
that's
not
right.
particularly overweight woman.
Yeah.
Okay, right. Let's discuss the body standards of these guys as well, right? That they fat shame that woman. I'm not shaming anyone, but at one point, don't they like look someone up and down, but the camera moves as if it's supposed to be like our point of view?
Yeah.
Does that happen? That happens.
We definitely get something that feels a lot like that, but then that's, I think, the second one. The first woman is, I don't know, maybe a size 14 at a push, and they're like, oh my god, the heaviest you could ever possibly be and still be considered human. Disgusting. And I was like, all right, lads.
Doesn't Paxton call her a hog as well? I'm like, you've got that much weight of wet look gel in your hair right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For God's sake.
I feel that I feel that if someone had been watching this ongoing, even if they'd never thought about doing a hostel before, they might have actually set up that institution to deal with these guys. Like, this is the God. I wish there was a way to systemically murder these horrible men.
Aren't we at least supposed to feel something for somebody? Like, I feel like it would be so much more impactful. Hostel 2, again, I'm pretty sure I haven't seen it, but I do have different memories of it. But it's women, not it's like that's right. isn't it?
Spoilers. I think Hostel 2 is probably a fair bit better because the characters are far more sympathetic.
But even if we have
None of
just
them
like
perfect.
one sympathetic character who's kind of like, oh, come on, guys,
They're
we
perfect.
really
They're
need.
not perfect. They have a naivety about traveling the world and what life might be like, and the dangers of stuff, and people learn or don't learn lessons about that. But none of them are inherently horrid people. Whereas these lads, so they do go into the brothel, and then I think Paxton and Ollie have had a threesome with this woman. They've decided, well, three's the maximum capacity of this room, so we'll do it, and then we'll let Josh have a go afterwards. Josh hears someone screaming in a room, pops his head around the door, and it's actually a woman beating up another woman. Today, if you watch, you got a pain. He's like, oh, ever so sorry. C-3PO's out of the room. He's like, oh, come on. Is this how we is this the character point where, again, Josh wildly swinging from kind of naive and maybe signs that he might be a less confident, a nicer guy, maybe a bit more quiet, a little bit underspoken, to absolute rage-fueled machine when he was having that nightclub fight a little while ago.
The nice guys are the ones you got to worry about, especially the ones who are convinced they're nice guys as well.
Big incel energy about this guy. Yeah. And he's like, oh no, and he staggers out the room, and then the other guys come out. Ollie goes into the room, and he's quite happy to pay to watch this woman beating up this other woman.
Wait, she's beating up a man, hasn't she?
I didn't. So I just saw she was on top of a person. But it was a female, wincing in pain that I thought we heard. So I figured that it was two women.
Sorry, I'm just laughing at the thought that you go into this place and literally one side is just what seems to be standard, quite gentle, loving intercourse with someone who you're paying for the pleasure of. And literally across the corridor, you can get the shit kicked out of you.
Oh yeah, just go in the right room. It's like Wonka's chocolate factory in there. There's a room for everything.
But can I just? Are you here for the lovely relaxing? Yeah.
Can we? Excuse me. I was hoping to have a threesome, but could I have one in the room that is like a feudal Japanese house where the walls are kind of so everyone outside this room can see me in silhouette? Oh, sure. Be sure to have sex in a dramatic way and high five over the top or shake hands or something like that, so we get the full image of what's going on here.
It's just carnage, isn't it? It's just absolute carnage.
Absolute, and this is all first 10 minutes of the movie. So they Josh goes in, and the sex worker says, "Oh, you can give it a rinse in this sink if you like before we get to it." And then she turns her back for just a second, and turns around, and then it's
because even the thought of
he's Batman. She's looked around.
Even the thought of giving it a rinse made him go, nah.
It's not. No, I think every other day is good enough. Thank you. If my standards are not good enough for you,
I do a stand-up sink wash every Thursday. I'll let you know.
Yeah. And the first Thursday of every month, I use a bit of soap.
And they'll go, well, I'm afraid it is Wednesday night, so you're gonna have to.
I've got certain professional standards. So anyway, she turns her back for just a second, and then Batman, he's gone into the night. Yeah. The others catch up with him. They get back to their hostel, not the one from the film. They get back to their hostel, and it's after curfew because apparently, famously in Amsterdam, everyone's in bed by midnight. These are the only boys that are here for a party. But I think there is a Hostel Zero here, which shows how sick of these people are with this trio of blokes. Because when they're shouting to be let in, I assume the hostel manager goes, "Bugger off, I ain't letting you in," and then they start singing Guten Abend, and then all of the people from every other window in this hostel starts trying to bottle them.
Yeah.
I think it's fair. I'm like,
Yeah,
it's fair.
it's like neighbours and stuff opening up windows and telling them to fuck off. It's
Yeah,
brilliant.
I was into it. I'm like,
it's recycling day the next day, so everyone in their apartments has got all the glass, right?
not these
Start
guys
nodding
again.
out the window. Right, I've had it with these guys.
Yeah.
We were in Ibiza once, and we were walking down the street, and completely repressed them. We were not singing Guten Abend or we're trying to come in past curfew. But imagine a little bit of japes, people on holidays. Some people throw eggs out of the hotel windows. Smashed on the floor just a few feet away from us, an entire watermelon. I was like, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
Funny that this watermelon has come from nowhere, but you would have definitely died, right? If a watermelon had got you from
what a way to go, though,
hotel window.
Yeah.
I think that should be the law, that would have to be on your grave.
Oh yeah, 100%. Does everybody know that he died? He got hit by a watermelon. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the only way to try and save some face from it was have like your family have to say it had fallen from a plane or something like that. Not just watermeloned outside like San Antonio Bay.
So they meet this guy called Alexei. How do they meet him when he says, "Oh, you can't get in. Come and stay at my apartment"?
Well, the police are coming and they're going to get lifted because they've been shouting outside. So the Amsterdam police are coming to take them in for disturbing the peace. And then some Chesney Hawkes looking guy leans out the window and says, "Hey, dudes, come in."
So obviously you do. Obviously.
Yeah. And also you climb up the wall of his house like it's gladiators. Yeah, wolves after him, and they climb up and get into the house. And then again, there are some people off their tits on spice or whatever, just mindlessly having oblivious sex.
This is bizarre because the Icelandic guy comes up and he's like, first of all, he's a divorced man. I know we've added that backstory for him. He proceeds to marvel at some breasts like he's never seen. Literally, oh, what? Oh, look at this.
And he's like, oh, bags. He's there watching. He's like, oh, bags next. It's not a pool table, mate.
Things that he does that annoys the
Put 50p on it.
He's not even in this film for long, but he annoys the shit out of me. He says, "Of course, horse," a lot.
It's his catchphrase.
That's annoying. I don't like that. Then what does he call himself? The king of the swing. That's annoying as well. I'm like, I'm sick of you already. I'm sick of you having a catchphrase and giving yourself a nickname.
Maybe
be gone. I'm glad you got hosteled.
Is he called the king of the swing? And he has an orange coat, making him look a bit like King Louis.
Ah, there we are.
Famous orangutan.
But he is so brazen with it. He called up and booked a room under that name. I hate that. I hate it so much. Like if I knew someone like that, I'd just be like, "I'm sorry, mate, but no more. We have to leave." Because we've discussed this before. I knew someone when I was younger who gave himself the nickname Viper, and I hated that. And what was yours, Andy?
Uncle Blade. Luke with Uncle Blade.
Luke has someone called Uncle Blade. And the Viper thing still annoys me because whenever someone tells me about him, they still refer to him as Viper. And I go, don't call him that. He called himself that nickname. Oh, yeah, you remember Viper, don't you? No, that's not him. Name was James.
James the Viper.
So that's what King of the Swing. That's what King of the Swing has essentially done.
Yeah. So he's King of the Swing. Also, I feel like a hotel. I guess it is Europe. Several countries do have monarchies still. That's why he could have got away with it. Oh, not unfeasible that you might be a king, I guess. Of sort of popular 1940s, 50s music. I'm not sure. But the King of Swing. So they go to Chesney Hawkes' house.
Chesney Hawkes. I think what would be a good drinking game is drink every time you see a digital camera, because this scene as well has got another digital camera.
He gets his digital camera out and he says, "Oh, so we're going to Barcelona tomorrow," and he's like, "Oh, Barcelona, mate, dog shit. What you want to do is let's look at what you want to do is go to this place." Gets out his digital camera and just shows again him just loads of completely naked women lying about and him just all amongst it, having his picture taken. Again, priorities, Chesney. Like, are we to believe that he's had so much sex with these multiple women at the same time that he's like, should I take some photos to show my friends? I mean, there's no what's it called, TripAdvisor at this point, so I will just show people what it's like if I can encourage more people to come here.
What's he? I'd be like, what you doing here? Why aren't you still there? What's wrong with you? He's like a little slip of a man as well, isn't he? I'd be like, I couldn't trust you to satisfy anyone.
Maybe he's got a lot. Maybe he's dead good at cardio. Like he's got,
yeah. But even then, I think there's a time and a place. So yeah, he shows
truly is the one and only that guy. But anyway, he says he's like, come along then. You want to go here, Slovakia, and it's pretty gross about it. Saying, oh, actually, the women, they love it, especially Americans. Actually, they think you're the best, and they'll all think you're brilliant because of your accent. And
it's Jay from In-Betweeners vibes. Yeah, is what I'm getting.
They're dead horny all the time because there's no men because of the war. The war, in inverted commas. Tell you what, Ben and Janine, should we pause there for a little bit of Slovakia trivia?
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Before Slovakia separated from Czechoslovakia, forming the Czech Republic and Slovakia, that was actually a relatively amicable split of a country in an event called, ready for this? Do either of you know what that's called when they split the countries? Give everyone a moment at home to answer. It was called the Velvet Divorce when they split. But that was following an event before where in 1989 the people of Czechoslovakia at the time overthrew the communist rule of the country in an event called the Velvet Revolution. And you know how many people were killed in the Velvet Revolution?
3.
None. It was a bloodless coup, giving the country that reputation for being a place of terrible violence and all those people being dead. Yeah. So, peaceful things that have gone on. But anyway, not the story that we're painting here. Loads of men are dead because of the war in the early 2000s, and these guys are ready to. These guys are they're ready to go. So they leave and get on a train for Slovakia, ready to take advantage of this women. Yeah, get on the Hogwarts Express because, as Chesney Hawkes points out, you can just take them like they are stuff, which is what they're in for.
Yeah. So they're having a lovely trip. And then this Dutch businessman joins them in their cabin. Kind of a cabin, is it?
Yeah, lovely train cabin.
And to be fair, they do go from being douchebags to quite amicable, normal folk for a second, talking to this man, don't they?
Being sensible, yeah.
Yeah. We're leave it alone. Don't say anything racist or sexist or anything.
Don't put your bum in my face, Ollie, for just a second.
God, yeah. Oh, for God's sake. Oh, I've drawn some eyes on my arse. And I've shaved my ass especially for that. Get the digital camera out as well for this. This is going to be a great memory. For God's So yeah, obviously this Dutch businessman comes in and he starts off by showing pictures of his daughter, and then they sort of and that is when Ollie says, "I've got a daughter," and it reminds me of Super Hands from Peep Show. When do you remember when they find out he's got kids?
Yes,
yeah, and he goes, "Yeah, I'm always going on about the twins. Yeah, I'm always going on about them. I've got a picture of them here. I'll never forgive Orange if they've wiped the twins." Ah, bloody hell. It gave serious Super Hands vibes. So I did appreciate that. I'm always going to have my daughter. And what does the guy do? He just starts.
So he starts having a lovely bit of ham salad.
He's eating his salad, yeah.
Yeah, and he talks about being a Paxton's like a vegetarian, and then...
Oh, of course. After all the things he's done, he has the nerve to be the first person that's offended.
Yeah,
and it's like, and it's like, oh, do you want some of my lovely salad? And he goes, no, because actually, you disgusting pig, I am a vegetarian.
You never heard of us before?
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. It's me eating this fairly dry salad with my hands. Is that offending you? And then
and then he gives like a creepy monologue about, oh, I think we should get back to our roots of touching our food. And
he's like basically saying you should touch your food, because I tried to remember that an animal gave its life for me to eat this. So I want to stay connected to it. And then in explaining it, he touches Josh on the knee, and he has a big old bit. He has a big old bit of gay panic. He goes, "Don't! That
made me feel something. How dare you!" It was a step too far. I feel like that was he let the intrusive thoughts win. Then he was like, "What if I just touch this man's knee out of nowhere?" Rah!
Do we see the man's? Do we see his Bloodhound Gang tattoo at this point?
I don't think
on his ankle. We get a look at it at some point, right?
Oh, we do.
Is it now or is it later?
I'm not sure.
Might be a bit later.
Yeah, so a bit of gay panic, and then they arrive in Slovakia, and
finally, now we're in Slovakia. All our troubles are over. And so far, so good. They go and check in to the hostel
under King of the Swing. That is when they look the receptionist, who's dressed pretty much standard.
She's got like a cardi and a dress on.
A dress on, and they go, "Oh, look at her! Look at her up and down! God's sake!"
Animals, they're animals, yeah.
Absolute animals.
But it's not all. I'll tell you what, you'd hear about this, wouldn't you? In the late 90s, early 2000s, this would be on Watchdog. So you booked a holiday in good faith. You've arrived there, sharing a room. But don't worry, they're quite fine with it, because basically, as they walk into their room, it couldn't be more egregious if these two almost naked women were having a pillow fight.
Yeah. Oh yeah, don't worry about us.
Oh, the room's yours, actually, if you want to get settled in. We are just heading to the sexy sauna where women will mostly be naked, but guys will. Don't worry. Yeah. Don't worry if you've had any confusing, conflicting thoughts, really. All the guys will be in full swimwear, don't you worry.
I've seen pornos that are less heavy-handed than this. This is like not subtle in the slightest. To the point where if I was there, I'd be like, what's going on? I'd just be like, what's going on? Something's not right. Something's fishy.
Yeah, the second you'd walk past, you'd be tapping your pockets, make sure they hadn't robbed your phone. If we live in a more suspicious age.
Also, do you know what infuriates me as well when I go to foreign countries? When I get to the hostel or hotel, and in the lobby they're playing a film in another language.
Oh, that makes them so cross. Although, little hint, right? It's they're watching Pulp Fiction, aren't they?
Yeah. They're watching Pulp Fiction, and it's put the bloody subtitles on. How am I supposed to understand this? Oh, sorry, you, an English speaker in a country that doesn't speak English as its main language.
Come and tell they watch telly, have you? Nice.
So stupid. Again, another reason where I was just like, just off these blokes immediately.
So, as these two beautiful women leave the room, and they say they're going off to the only women naked spa, one of them, Svetlana, turns back and says, "Oh, you should come." And they're like, "Tell you what, this sounds like too good of a chance to miss."
The scene we didn't see, which I think we should have seen, is them immediately as they leave the room, just quickly getting undressed and as fast as possible, getting changed into their little towel and running down there. I'd like
do you reckon this is part of the? Do you reckon this absolutely luxurious, like it's like a Roman baths in there? Do you think like it's massive? It's huge. There's just like an entire swimming pool of people lounging about on hot stones like lizards in steamy rooms. Is this attached to the hostel? Is it one of the floors, or is it just over the road?
It's,
It seems a bit mad.
it can't be anything to do with the hostel. It can't be. It's got so over the road. They're co-owned or something.
Yeah, you get a voucher if you stayed at the hostel.
That's it exactly. Yeah, 50% off.
Just give them
So
your
they-
room number.
So they nip along to there, and then they're getting on famously, like a bloody house on fire. They're in there with, obviously, as promised, all of them safely in their swimwear, while the women do sit about entirely naked, finding all their jokes very funny.
Yeah. Yeah. What one of them Russian? Are they both Russian? Because I think
I
that's when
think is
Ollie
it-
sort of makes
one of them's like Italian slash one like is it Natalia who is like whose
Yeah.
parents are Italian and Russian. They're meant to be from all over, right? Because obviously they don't position themselves as being from there because they're meant to be other tourists at the hostel, right?
Yeah. So it says here they go to the spa, and then later they go to a discotheque.
It is a discotheque. Yeah.
Classic European discotheque.
Classic European discotheque where they do some drugs, and then when you go outside to get some fresh air,
some nondescript pills up, yeah.
What one of these nondescript? Sorry, can I just check what it is? Just get it down, yeah. Get it down, yeah. I'll take the pills, but what I will frown upon is smoking a cigarette near me.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, inside as
poor.
well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Different
That's
time. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. We never explicitly see the other drugs. They might be that she had a little pack of love arts.
Pack of love arts.
Yeah. This one says kiss me. Oh, I've given it to you now. What are you gonna do?
That's it, yeah.
Classic bit of flirting.
Them's the rules. So yeah, when Josh
Yeah.
when Josh goes outside, he gets accosted by like a gang of, it says local criminal kids, to the point
Grubby
where
youths.
they're clearly like either, what is it, street urchins. Someone's gone,
Yeah.
you gotta put a bit of soot on your cheeks so you look.
Yeah, literally like little hash marks of dirt that they've drawn on them.
Yeah.
The other
fair,
little
though,
rascals, like one of them's got like a black eye, and one of them's got like a hat with a propeller, one's got a massive lollipop.
So first of all, they ask for a cigarette, don't they? And obviously Josh doesn't smoke. But suddenly the bloke from the train appears. Is that right? Is that right?
Yeah,
Yes,
the little boys are about to like get him, and then the Dutch businessman turns up and like Willy Wonka just like scatters jelly beans over the floor or something.
Is this all part of the ruse to get them hosteled? Is every single step of this?
I think in this film the criminal boys are like a neutral force.
Yeah,
right?
they're like neutral ground, aren't they? Yeah.
They're like an element that you could take advantage of. They're like a natural hazard in the area.
Yeah. If this was a game, you just have to like disturb them and they'd attack whoever was nearby. Is that right?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who.
It's stupid.
It's
Be
such
a
a
strategic advantage.
it's such a strange addition to this film, and it's an addition to this film that like I never knew about. Like, I don't know. I thought I would have seen like a meme or like a gif of it or just something silly about the fact that there's a group of little Oliver Twist boys
who apparently, again, they just run the country. These little
definitely.
boys.
You know that
That's
Velvet?
it, yeah.
What was it called? The Velvet Divorce.
Yeah,
They ever saw that?
they oversaw it during the reason that that the Velvet Revolution was bloodless is that all those little boys could form together to like a Megazord like function.
You say that, but they bludgeoned a man's head in later with a hammer.
Yeah. That was only the
Sick.
little mode as well. Imagine if they were in Megazord mode. So I love this that the Dutchman saves him from the horrible little boys, and he goes, "Oh, can I buy you a drink at the discotheque?" And he goes, "Yeah, all right, you can buy us a drink at the discotheque." And then showing that he's grown as a character. And at this point, did you guys feel any differently? At this point, Josh is sort of your main character still.
Yes, yeah.
Yes,
So
he
he's
does
there, and then he
he does
shows-
apologize, doesn't he, for his reaction? He's like,
Yeah, he shows
Listen,
that
mate,
he's grown.
I know when you
and
touched
he
me up,
touched
I
him on the
react.
leg, and he goes,
"Wait, did that happen?"
"Friends." Yeah, he touches it.
Yeah,
What
he
happened?
touches his leg. Yeah, yeah. It was really weird.
I
It was
missed
like,
that for some reason.
equals pequals.
Equals
Yeah.
equals. And then he reaches over again. He goes, no. You've
No, no,
misunderstood
don't.
this.
It's even now.
You've misunderstood this transaction. So yeah, at this point, when he goes back in, Ollie's like dancing with some other woman at this point. Who?
The woman from the front desk they were ogling earlier.
It's
Oh,
yeah,
God.
yeah.
And you know what type of dancing they're doing?
Yeah,
Some swing dancing.
I hated it. I hate this guy.
No, he's doing some rock and roll,
I
twisting
hate him.
her around.
I hate him so much. He's the kind of guy who, like, I can imagine like working in an office with and being like, I'm sick of that guy. He'll come in and he'll be like, "Of course, horse," and I'll be like, "All right, mate. Yeah, all right. We've all been there." See you
Signs
later.
his emails the king of swing to you on a Friday.
Exactly. So yeah, what happened? What happens then? So obviously, then it's sort of, I think the
They
girls
go back. They do some
Yeah,
just same room sex. That despite
They
the
do
fact
some
that he's
same
on a
room
hair
sex.
trigger for kicking off all the time, Josh is like a deeply unsettled person. He's quite happy to basically fade into consciousness with like having wide-eyed sex with the Natalia character with his mate there, just like staring up at her like this rigidly on the bed.
Again, that's in betweeners vibes. Like when arms by his sides.
Yeah. He's got his arms by his sides while this woman's basically sexing
I
on
use
him.
my hands. No.
And he's like, oh, I better not do anything. He's like, cool, honestly. Like
Well,
the
it says
look of
here that
wonder.
the
It
women.
looks like he's seen the face of God.
It seems like it says here the women slipped the men tranquilizers. So was that what happened before, or were those?
No,
pills
that's
or tranquilizers?
later. That's later.
Oh, later. Okay. All right. Oh, yeah. Oh, I see. Sorry, I'm reading the wrong bit. Yeah, you're right. So yeah, then it's the next morning, right?
They get
Yes.
up, but Ollie isn't there. They approach them. Oh, and so Ollie isn't there, and also there are some Japanese tourists who we saw checking out our handsome hero boys as they walked into the hostel.
Hmm.
They were like eyeing them up and down. So see, it's everyone's doing it.
Everyone's doing
here
it.
in Hostel, everyone wants sex with everyone all the time.
These American guys with
Yeah.
their great hair.
But
Exactly,
Ollie
yeah.
is gone, and there's a Japanese woman named Kana whose friend has also disappeared.
Mm. And she comes up to them and says, she says something about that they left together or something. And then
Yeah.
Paxton, in
Well-
the most bizarre reaction anyone's ever had to any bit of news, says, "But Ollie doesn't even like Asian chicks." Sorry? That's your first reaction?
Chief Inspector Paxton. Well, you smelt a rat here. So yeah,
They must have had what that insinuates is they've had a conversation previously where they've ranked the their attractiveness of different people from different countries.
And Ollie has sat there and said, "Look, lads, if I've ever disappeared and some unhelpful desk clerk implies that I may have left with an Asian girl, please assume that I've actually been murdered and there's something is wrong."
And if I send a selfie of myself saying I've gone home and I just look absolutely fucked on some horrible black background, if I send that, it's legit.
Yeah, if I send a picture where I'm almost certainly dead, saying I've gone home.
What it just says, I am.
I go
What's
home.
it say? I'm gone
I go
home.
home. I go home.
Yeah, that's it. I go home.
Surely you'd reply, when?
Are you in a are you in charge of sending the messages to the friends of the people we kidnapped to make them think they've gone home? Yeah. Why'd you keep writing I go home? Couldn't you just say something else?
Yeah. And again, I guess once again, it's on a serious note, it's the short-sightedness of the grasp of English in people in non-English speaking countries. They all speak English. I mean, without almost without exception, people in other countries will speak English far better than you speak their language. Certainly, we are very lucky. We are very lucky in that sense. And the reality is they would certainly. I mean, not to say they haven't just chosen the least language literate person on their kidnap crew to be texting the friends. I
reckon it's the man who throws the bodies into the fire.
Yeah.
While he's waiting for them to burn up, he's like, "Oh, got the phone here, better out."
Old sausage fingers. He's like that.
Yeah.
Smashing the...
And of course, because everyone's got different phones, how do you go back on this one?
Oh yeah, it's horrible, isn't it?
You put a full stop between every word. You don't have to use it. It's all caps. How do you get small letters?
Is it the one where you got to like write each
Hold
number like 2 times 4? Write that 2 in 4 times you get the D, and then once. Oh, I've pressed it 5.
And then can you change it? Are you doing that, or have you gone predictive text?
Oh god, yeah. It's a shit show.
So that guy's doing it, and that's why he just wants less letters. I go home. Whereas he could have gone, hello, my horses. My daughter that I've mentioned is poorly, so I've had to go home. Not sent you a picture of myself because that would be weird. A text message should suffice.
Yeah. Can we just have
even in the phone-centric days of 2023, I don't send a picture of myself with every message I might send to show that it's me. Still free for 8 o'clock tonight, Ben?
Here's a picture of me with today's newspaper, so you know it's legit. This text.
And Kana's friend has sent a similar message.
Yeah.
To her in Japanese, I guess.
Yeah, I don't believe that.
I can't judge how good the Japanese is. Maybe her message is very well written.
So yeah, after we see that, we see like where Ollie actually is, and he's dead. He's been bloody decapitated in like an unknown place. And do we see? So it's Yuki is the friend. Do we see her like being tortured at this point?
I think it's a very quick flash of like something happening to her.
Oh, we do. We see like, isn't she at the end of a corridor and you see someone walking in and closing the door?
Yeah. It's almost implied rather than anything specific. Yeah, that was one of my things. I was like, no, I want to see something.
Did you guys watch? We'll come to it. Did you guys watch original or director's unrated cut for this one?
Oh God.
I watched the unrated cut.
So we might have had a different ending from you then, Ben.
Yeah, maybe.
Certainly different to the cinematic one, I remember. And it makes less sense. We'll cover it at the end. So yeah, we don't see what happens to Yuki, but we assume she's been got.
And then there's another. Obviously, they think they find Ollie, and they sort of like chase after him. Is that now, or is there another
This
night?
is around now, right? With the sex museum, because
this is the Home Alone.
Where'd you get that coat from?
Where'd you get that fucking coat from with a embroidered flag of Iceland on it? Where'd you get it from? It's my favorite coat. Leave me alone.
And when he does it, he just suspiciously goes, "This is my coat."
No, it's bloody not. You lying bastard! How dare you?
You got written your name in it, have you? Written your name in it? Not at school, no.
So I guess they kind of come to terms with the fact that like Ollie's gone or whatever, I don't know. But then they stay for like another night, don't they, with Natalia? And
they first again the wild temper swings of Josh. They're doing that thing where something bad's happened on like a holiday, and then you've lost the willpower to do anything or go anywhere else. You're just going to sit in the reception until it's time to go. Bearing in mind also that it's a train, they could have surely just gone, right, I'm just going to get on the next one then, rather than no, we'll wait till the morning. Svetlana and Natalia come and say, "Oh, you pop into the disco tonight, lads," and Josh is like, "No, actually, we're staying here waiting for our friend. Fuck you very much." And I'm like, "Oh, well," they do a good little bit of hurt feelings to go to walk off, and then old Paxton says, "Listen, mate. We could either have sex with these women again and then leave this country forever, scot-free, or we could stay here and be right old miseries and then go anyway." He goes, "Oh, well, might as well suck it up." And go, "Oh, no, come on, we'll go to the disco."
A right old pair of miseries.
What right pair of misgogs? What's gonna go wrong if we go to the disco one more time?
Disgraceful. So this is when they slip them tranquilized. Is that right, Janine?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Having a nice time at the disco. Josh feels poorly. He goes, "Oh, I've got to feel ever so poorly. Gonna leave and go back." And then he gets helped into bed. Do we see some sinister men like coming towards them when he's passed out, or do you see him just go to bed and fall asleep?
I can't even remember.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Meanwhile, Paxton, he tanks it a little bit more, and rather than going home feeling poorly, he falls asleep in the cupboard in the nightclub toilets.
Yeah, does he get like locked in there or not?
Yeah, because he gets woken up the next day when like the guy's like bottling up in the morning.
That has got to be the worst. No, I'm not saying that's ever happened to me, but can you imagine? Someone comes down to change the barrel.
Oh, I feel worse
Doing it.
being the person that works at the disco. So you just get sick of it.
Absolutely sick of it. But in a way, saves his life, right? Because I think he would have been immediately hostiled if.
Yeah, he would have been hostile. I'd love a deleted scene here where like the hostelmen come to get him, and like Svetlana and Natalia, we drugged him and he wandered off. Where is he?
Embarrassing. You got one job.
And the guy went and he's checked all the toilets. He's like looking under the doors of the cubicles to try and find him. Comes back, puts his head around the door. Can't see him. God, we've come so close to getting this money from getting this bloke, and he's just vanished.
So it's the next day, which is when Josh, next day, maybe the same night, where Josh wakes up in like a dungeon-like room. There's a man. We don't really see what this man looks like at this point, with like a how would you describe it? A butcher's apron.
Yeah.
On.
Well, he's like a doctor stuff, hasn't he?
Yeah,
because he explains that he wanted to be a surgeon.
Yeah. And it is revealed quite quickly that it's the Dutch businessman, the man from the train who was eating the meat with his fingers and then appeared at the discotheque to save Josh from the Oliver Twist kids. It's been a ruse all along to get close to him so that later I can maim him. And yeah, here's where I guess we're supposed to witness like the prolonged, scary, agonizing torture sequences, but it's not that bad.
He's got like a Joker origin story, hasn't he? He's like, oh yes, I always wanted to be a surgeon, but the boards would never pass me. Do you understand why? And he holds his hands out, and he's got an incredible tremor that was never evident of everything else he's doing.
No, it wasn't.
All the other times
he was eating that meat still. He was eating that meat incredibly still. Great.
Yeah. He
put a scalpel in his hand.
He was plucking that meat out of that like little deli pot like it was a game of Operation. Not a single shred of it touched the sides. As soon as he's got a scalpel in his hand, though, he's like.
It's when he's under pressure. It's just when he's under
like
pressure.
Conducting
clearly.
an orchestra with it, and he gives Josh a bit of a drilling. I was like, well, I guess there might be some circumstance that a surgeon might use a drill, but not one like that, not a hammer drill like you've got here. So he drills him a bit, and then he just does some operating. Right? How does he eventually finish Josh off?
He Achilles tendons him, doesn't he?
Oh yeah.
Achilles tendons him, opens the door, and says, "Look, you're free to leave." And I'd be like, "I know your game, mate." And obviously he tries to crawl towards the door, and when he can't, he just slits his throat.
That's it. Yeah. Straight.
Because he falls over. All you need to do is walk out the door. If Josh had been thinking about it, he would have commando crawled.
I feel like though,
away.
if people are paying, and I'm not trying to say that I would do this, but if you pay, clearly people are paying a lot of money to like kill and torture people. This guy gets over with too quickly. What's he playing
on a schedule.
At? Also, if you is it Yuki who we've already seen being tortured? Is she the one who gets tortured at the end? And
no.
It's her friend, isn't it? Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
okay, yeah, that makes
Kana
sense.
we see a bit later because that man who I do recognize from things later on has paid over the odds because we see at some point, it might be around now, there is a card that says like local a bargain. They're like $5,000. Europeans are 10 grand. Americans.
There's only so many locals now. I almost kind of thought the locals. It's insinuating the locals are in on it. because a lot of the locals are kind of like, I mean, at least the police, right?
Yeah.
So I was almost like, sure, there's only a certain amount of locals that they can that they can keep
Everyone
off
that's not in on it
Yeah,
is
yeah,
on
exactly.
board for a bargain
Yeah.
price.
Yeah.
It feels kind of nuts.
If you're not in on it, you're fair game, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in on it. I'm in on it. Don't,
If you're
don't
not a
kill
member
me.
of the Bloodhound gang, then you're to the chop.
So yeah, Josh. So the next morning as well is when Paxton wakes up. He returns to the hostel, I think, where he's like looking for I'm looking for my friends, and the guy on the desk is like, everyone's checked out. They checked out. They're long gone.
What do I
He's
mean?
in on
I
it as
checked
well.
out.
This guy's in on it. Who is this
Yeah.
guy? Why is everyone
His
in on
job
it?
is just he's got the most innocent face. He's like when you phone up it's like when you phone up any type of service to cancel, and they've always got either someone with one of the most friendly accents, like from Newcastle or from Ireland, to try and talk to you and talk you down. And it's he's like, oh no. I was like, oh, he's got the best slightly confused. Like, when did they check out? Oh, I wouldn't be able to find out until tomorrow, I guess.
Son, are you getting on well working at that hostel on the desk? Yeah, it's quite nice actually. Yeah. You're earning a lot of money. I've seen your latest pay slip. It's extortionate. It's huge.
Do a good job, Dad.
I am taking bungs on the side from an international who are and actually essentially selling the people who come to the hostel to be killed. Oh,
I mean,
okay.
to be fair, I guess
not very traditional.
I guess if the price to the end user for an American to murder is 25 grand.
Yeah.
I mean,
he's not going to see much of that at all, is he?
What's going around for the admin, right? So obviously you need to. Not much is going to the cleaning of the rooms, but quite a big facility to rent, security, airfares. You've got to make these people look decent the rest of the time, get your whole operation in order. So maybe that guy on the thing, he's only getting bit of pocket money.
No, yeah, it's not a lot at all, is it?
He's not supplementing his income that much when his role in it is to basically say, oh no, he's checked out actually.
Natalia and Svetlana have got to commit to 2 days worth of with these guys. They've got to sleep with them as well.
Having sex with repugnant people.
Yeah. I don't know if they have to. Maybe they've just, I don't know. Yeah, so this guy's not seeing much at all.
But then Paxton's suspicions are raised when he goes, well, go and get your stuff if you want. And then he goes to get his stuff. And as he's walked in, unfortunately, the ride is going round again. And he sees a different two women as he walks into the room again.
Oh, yeah.
If not naked, then as close to as, just putting their towels on or whatever, say it. And they say, oh, no, the room's yours. We're just going to the spa. You should come. And it's like, do you guys have rehearsals? They're running to a very tight script. We called a short break there, everyone. Welcome back. I don't know if we inserted a transition sound or something, but Janine's had a poorly child-related emergency, so she's had to go and do that. I can reassure everyone that can no longer see or hear her for the rest of the episode. She has not been hosteled.
She's not been hosteled
by anyone.
No.
Look, as you can prove it, I'm holding up to a screen now. Here's a picture of Janine's face saying, I go home. So she's fine.
That's
no need to ask any more
fine.
questions about that.
100%.
Where we were in the plot, though, is that Paxton was asking questions.
Yeah. So we are gonna continue, and we're gonna finish the episode. But of course, we wish Janine all the best, and I'm sure she'll give us her rating of the film. We'll catch up with her and add it to the end of the episode. Yeah. So Paxton, what's he playing at?
Well, he is having heard basically a repeat. They're ever so tightly scripted here at the hostel, and they've aroused his suspicion, unlike all the other things they've been arousing for the last couple of days. And now he goes to investigate. He goes to see the police and says, "What's going on here?
What's going on here then?
What's my friend's gone missing. What's going on? He wouldn't just leave. Ollie, absolutely loose unit, but Josh, he wouldn't just go. He wouldn't just disappear."
Oh yeah, Ollie, 100%. They don't know him that well either today, so
the police said, "Look, fundamentally, there's nothing you could do. I mean, just maybe you'll meet you at the station or whatever.
Oh, he says like go back and wait at the hostel. Like this isn't uncommon, and I'm like, all right, okay. Still kind of suspicious. Regardless, isn't it? So yeah, but then he goes and finds Natalia and Svetlana in just like a random pub. Is that right? Just a random.
Yeah, and they have taken a rapid transition. Now they're not on duty from, I would say, absolutely stone cold 10 out of 10ers that they've seen and they've been hanging
is
out
like
with.
a she's or
They've
that
gone
scenario.
straight to like, but in reverse, so they've basically become crack addicts overnight.
This is mad. Like they've made them up to look like they're tired, drug addled, bags under their eyes, dark circles. And of course, I don't like their attitude in this scenario. Obviously, that they've done their work, so now they're kind of like talking, like not giving him the answers, kind of belittling him a little bit. I mean, he does deserve it. He is a dickhead.
I mean, not even that though. They're also not very secretive about it. They're not like, oh, you can't possibly have seen this over here. They just sat at the bar with a random man.
Yeah, they just go, "All right, yeah, you again."
Oh, and Paxton speaks German. That's important.
Oh yeah, of course.
Because earlier on in the bar when they were talking a little bit, and then he speaks to them and goes, "Oh, you speak German?" He goes, "Yeah,
yeah, that's right."
So they're talking.
Speaking Sie Dutch?
Yeah,
yeah, that's confirmed.
Yeah, so he hears them talking. He goes, "No." He says, "Oh, they've gone to the art show." I want to go to the art show. She goes, "Oh, just go." And at this point, I wasn't sure if it was going to be more complex. Like they were quite happy to let him go, even though he hadn't shown any redeeming features or anything like that. But like, it feels like they're trying to give him an out at this point. He goes, "Nah, you're not interested in the art show." He's like, "No."
He's just gone to the art show. He's been gone to the art show for 2 days, obviously. Oh yeah.
And he's like, I want to see some bloody art. So she goes, all right. Gets him in a taxi. They have some chewing gum on the way from the taxi man.
Yeah, lovely bit of bubble gum. Yeah, so they get to like an old factory, essentially, isn't it?
That's it.
And then when he walks in, Natalia goes with him, and what's the moment where he realizes that things have gone south?
Basically, doesn't he gets let in for free first. The guy, how much is it? And he goes, for you, actually, free. He goes, oh, doesn't sound suspicious. And we go,
thanks. That doesn't sound suspicious at all. Come in.
Thank goodness. A bit of nice news for today. I've had ever such a hard time. For me getting in free, maybe things are on the up.
Brilliant.
Does he see Josh's corpse being worked on is that what gives it away?
Yeah. Oh, that's it. So yeah, he looks in the room and then he sees the Dutch businessman like with Josh's corpse like splayed open.
Yeah, he's doing some surgery on it, isn't he?
Yeah, and then that's when he
obviously some surgery on it, and then he
screams,
turns on Natalia.
Around. Yeah,
calls her a right old bitch, and she goes, "Ha! Actually, if you think about it, I'm getting paid loads of money to bring you here, so actually, it is you that are my bitch."
Again, am I supposed to think that this is like part of the long con, or I guess it's just worked out that that she's taking him there?
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it was part of the plan though, because like. You would think they would have been more helpful because she seemed really disinterested in taking him to the factory.
Yeah, maybe that's the vibe she's going for, you know.
But she
be a bit more disinterested. They'll be dead interested.
Yeah, so she's got him along, and then some men come, and Paxton is captured.
Mm-hmm.
He gets captured. Goes past several rooms to drag him round, and then little Weasley little man comes in to give him some torturing.
A Weasley little man. This is like, again, based on the marketing and the poster and everything for this, where we see like quite big, scary looking guys in butchers, what are they called? Butchers aprons or whatever.
Butchers
this is
like leather aprons,
a Weasley old Mr. Burns type comes in, and obviously, initially. Seems we don't really know what's going to happen, but then as Paxton keeps talking and kind of begging, the guy goes out. Johan, his name is apparently Johan. Yeah,
and he speaks to him in German, which I think throws him off a little bit, right? Because they've checked his passport. Oh no, they poke him as they talk, and then when he talks in American, and when he goes "ow," he's like, American, 25
yeah,
pounds.
yeah, yeah. It is like that. It gets him to say something. Well, what on earth could you even want me to say? Like, it's so...
they point at some items and they try and get him to describe what they are. So it's like, what do you
trash can?
Where do you put your rubbish? In the trash can. If you said bin, you're like, oh, you're a bin. Well,
you're a bin. What do you call this? And they bring out the bum bag from earlier.
Fanny pack. Aha.
That's quite obviously a bum bag, you idiot.
Yeah. So he's marked down as American, which makes him more expensive. So Johann's had to fork out a cool 25 grand for the privilege. And again, Paxton starts talking to him and Jeffy, it's here. Spoiling it. Only if he's not going to talk American, I don't want him to talk at all. So a guy comes in and in record time, he's like pretty much in and out of the room, and he's got a ball gag in his mouth.
Yeah, it's because he's been asked that before. He knew it's basically like request number one.
What the guy must have done is, as he's walking towards Paxton, he must have done like a yawn, like, and that would have set him off psychologically. And then he would have yawned, and then as soon as he opened his mouth,
oh my God's sake!
He's got the ball gag in his mouth, and this bit, I feel it's almost over the top. Because when Johann's menacing him with a chainsaw, and then I'm guessing in his fear and panic, Paxton is vomiting or something like that. But there is so much liquid coming out of him for all these plugged holes. He's like,
yeah. And obviously, Johann's like, I don't want him to die like that. I don't want him to die drowning in his own vomit. So I'll take the ball gag out.
Feel like someone stuck a hose up his bum, and there's just so much water coming out of him.
That's another part of the torture technique. Hose up the bum.
Yeah,
that's how it works.
So there's water hosing out of him. So the ball gag, I'm not sure if it gets sicked out or like just the
pulls it out,
of
Johann. I think he goes, I don't want you to die. So.
Like Augustus Gloop in that chocolate pipe, just too much pressure gets built up.
All the pressure.
So Johann does menace him with a chainsaw and chop some of his fingers off. Which I guess makes it possible for him to escape.
Yeah, so he chops like 2 of his fingers off, and then Johann like slips on the severed fingers, and then he like accidentally severs his own leg with the chainsaw. I mean, chainsaws can be pretty powerful depending on how many teeth they got on the old blade, but still, it takes quite a considerable amount of force to like sever a leg, and it seems to just land on him and just immediately sever his leg.
It just lands on him like sword through him
like a knife through butter. And then
I guess he's only a thin man.
He's only a thin man, yeah. His legs are like breadsticks. Paxton gets hold of the gun, which Johann had been menacing him with, and kills him. This doesn't seem to cause anyone like to hit it.
In that place where people are being shot and killed, if you're working there and you're hearing people go, ow,
that's a good point. That's a good point. But you just
busman's holiday.
What's going on in there? I'm murdering this guy. What do you think's going on in here?
Yeah, you'd be more concerned if you had like a giggling or something. You'd be like, what's going on here?
I thought I'd give him a tickle.
That's not what you're here for. Get on with it.
Get on, you bitch.
Yeah, so they're when they don't hear shouting. But then how'd he get? Because a guard does come in at some point, doesn't he? Does he like knock on the door?
I'm not sure. A guard does come in. I'm not entirely sure why. But when the guard comes in, Paxton shoots him as well. And then like
nips off to the changing room and
nips off to basically this is like a hitman scenario, isn't it? Where you kill the person and then you steal their outfit.
Yeah, and he changes in some business clothes and he meets an American client who is really intense. He
changes into the apron and like that weird helmet first, doesn't he?
Oh, he does. He walks down the corridor dressed as
before he gets
Egyptian god of death, Anubis.
So he like hides, then he like plays dead, so that some of the guys like drag him to where some guy is like discarding body parts, and that is where he sees Josh dead with his mouth.
Sees Josh's, sees the bits left of Josh being burned up in the fire. That guy texting people while he's there, like, I see a text.
I'm gone home. And then he loses his fingers, which he had sort of picked up.
Oh, he had them saved. He probably was going to put them in a
just puts them in like
put them back on.
puts them in a big bucket full of other fingers. You're like, oh, I'm never getting them now. And then
I
while
thought
this
one was going
man,
to fall down the train.
while he's discarded, I mean, this is the thing. It takes a long time for this film to actually get going into this part, and then it does. It's a nice change of pace, but at the same time, it does kind of like fly through this bit like quite quickly, and there aren't any real like prolonged scenes of torture or violence. There are bits of it, but it's not like the sort of reputation this film had was that it was like unwatchable and like people were, and it was getting banned and stuff like that. But it's
maybe just things have got progressively worse in the years that followed.
I mean, I guess so, yeah. But even the moments from Hostel 2 that I've seen have been much more impactful than this. So yeah, once he does eventually get up, so he kills that guy who was burning the body parts, and then he gets up into the changing room, changes into business clothes, which include, I mean, it's very Patrick Bateman, isn't it? Suit, gloves, trench coat.
Suit, yeah, big trench coat, and obviously he's severed things. He forces like a tiny little glove onto his hand to make sure it doesn't.
Well, like O.J. Simpson.
Yeah, it's like, oh, this is, I'll get away with it. Yeah, he puts like a leather glove in his hand. I guess he like blows it up to blow up the finger holes that aren't any fingers in that bit.
He's got two little breadsticks from a Dairy Dunker in there that he's just put in to replace his fingers.
Some Cadbury's fingers.
And then he gets into an awkward situation with like an American businessman who is obviously paying to kill someone. And he's big and loud and brash and tries to but believes that Paxton is another killer, another businessman, another one in the clientele, and kind of like asks him what he did and if he enjoyed it and whether it was worth it and stuff like that.
It's like, oh, he looks big. It's lovely, yeah. So
it was brilliant, yeah. How did you kill her then? Gun.
Hammer.
Straight to the point, was it? Yeah, straight to the point. Yeah.
And he kind of tries to offer someone else a kindness. He's like, oh, do it quick, actually.
Yeah.
And he's like, I will. Actually,
I will.
No, actually, I won't. And then he leaves the gun there in the change rooms, which Paxton goes, "Oh, I'll have this. This will be a useful item."
And he tries to look at his tattoo as well. So obviously he's got a tattoo, but Paxton hasn't. And he tries to look at it, but luckily they're interrupted by someone who's going to the other American guy. Your torture victims ready?
Ready in number 3. And he goes, "Oh, that's me."
Yeah.
And he goes, "Yeah." He's trying to look at his Bloodhound Gang tattoo. He's like, "No. That's you're not." And he won't show him. But then he's interrupted. They go, just as Paxton is about to escape, he's like, he hears Kana's screams, or he hears screams. We find out very quickly that it's Kana, the other Japanese girl.
I feel like at this point I would be so untrusting of everything and everyone that I wouldn't even believe for a second that somebody screaming was actually someone in peril.
Yeah, I think my only choice would have been to either really selfishly Robert Carlyle and escape, or the only alternative would have been to have basically gone full The Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou and just run around with my gun, just like blazing it at everybody.
So yeah, he does go back and he discovers that Kana, who was the girl from earlier, whose friend had disappeared, is getting disfigured by that American
guy.
Face
burnt up with
getting
her
face burnt with a blowtorch and her eyeballs like hanging out. So he shoots this guy, which is fair enough, rescues Kana, and they manage to flee in a stolen car. But the guards
before they flee though, the guy Kana is known not to speak that much English. They haven't had great opportunity to communicate with one another.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure how in this screamed and pained exchange they have that the message he takes away from it is snip my eye off with the scissors.
Yeah, I know, exactly. Why would that benefit anyone in that particular scenario? She might
have been saying, get me a cloth, or...
Yeah, get me a cloth. Oh, no, is my eye hanging off? Is it hanging off? Do you reckon we could save it? And he's gone, I'm going to have to snip it off, I'm afraid.
We have to snip it off so the goo comes out.
I mean, even this doesn't... I mean, I've seen a few Japanese movies recently with
it had Tokyo Gore Police feeling.
Tokyo Gore Police, yeah. So I was just thinking, in terms of Tokyo Gore Police, everything's very rubbery, and all the appendages are very much they look external to a body part. They don't look natural in any way, and it kind of looked like that, I would say.
Yeah, I think it had the energy of those films about it. But yeah, he snips the eye and we get some gunge. I'll say that though.
Bit of gunge.
I think it might be a time thing about it. I remember this feeling really extreme when I saw this in 2005.
Well, like
I remember thinking, "Oh, this has gone hard."
the goo leakage. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, the goo and the eye snipping, and you know, I can sort of imagine like having an optic nerve hanging out and someone snipping it off would be horrible. Oof.
Yeah, definitely. But she was burnt with a blowtorch, so I'm sure that like all of her pain receptors are dead anyway, aren't they? Or I don't know. I don't know. I've never had it happen to me, Andy. I'll be honest.
It's a wonder that she can function at all. But
That's true.
After snipping her eye off, then she seems all right. So they go and get in a car and do some escaping. And this is where we get like a little like this is basically where we get like a triple threat. So one, they've stolen a taxi and they're on the way. They're on the way along there, and then as luck would have it, because there's only a few minutes of the film left, out on the streets of the capital city of Slovakia, we happen to see their three enemies: Natalia, Svetlana, and Chesney Hawkes are all together.
Chesney Hawkes is there as well. He's made it all the way from Amsterdam to this place. He's coming here to collect.
And
then it all comes together in Paxton's head. He realizes what's happened and that he's been set up.
It's all been a setup, and obviously Chesney is there to say, "Oh, should we have some more naked pictures together?" Actually, I don't think I've got enough.
Yeah, in fact, I put my digital camera in the wash.
So
lost all the pictures.
I've lost all the pictures. Like Facebook's only, if it is a thing, it's not much of a thing yet. So I'm afraid I'm not on anything. I've got one or two of them on my MySpace, but not in my top 6. So yeah, we're gonna need to take all of those again.
Yeah.
So if you could transition back from looking like absolutely crack riddled, like right old states to being pictures. Like perfect people for pictures again, then that would be great.
And then Paxton just Carmageddon's the shit out of them, right?
Yeah. Because well, you know what? I've had a real bad day. In for a penny, in for a pound. I've shot a guy earlier. Yeah. So, yeah.
Mows them all down, but not to the point where I thought that they'd all be completely dead. Because at one point we get like a look of one of them and she's like pouring blood from her head. And I'm like,
Svetlana is instantly smashed. I think he like smashed into a wall, as is Chesney. Yeah. Those two are dead. Natalia is okay. And she's like, oh bloody hell.
That came sharp.
And then before you know it, because he's being now chased by the baddies from the Bloodhound gang, they run her over like a sack of spuds in the road.
Like an actual sack of spuds in the road, yeah. So that literally no fucks given. They've just absolutely smashed her to pieces.
So they run her over, but Josh has got enough of a head start. Not Josh, Paxton. Paxton's got enough of a head start to find himself stopped in the road later. Like there's a truck in the road, it's like beep 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 beep, we're out the bloody way. And then a guy begrudgingly comes and moves his truck.
Begrudgingly,
to reveal that behind it is all those bad boys.
Yeah. All the bad boys. Not the bad boys, but luckily the bad boys have taken you disturbed them, and the closest to them are the bad guys. So the bad boys take it says the delinquents here.
He's got a big bag of opal fruits that he gives them. Mawams. 0.
Mawams.
He gives them a big bag of Mawams that are in the taxi. And then when the Bloodhound gang arrive, the bad boys are all just sitting there eating Mawams. And the blokes go, "Oi! Move out the way, will you?" And they go, "Unfortunately, this man has bought our allyship for the next few minutes."
Why is bubblegum considered like such high currency?
It's just their favourite thing. Kids love sweeties, Ben.
Yeah, it's weird though.
They
so
that they kill those men.
They just kill those men, smash them with rocks, throw rocks from the thing, smash them with a hammer at one point. Absolute madness. This is like an issue of the Beano.
They've got like classic first weapon you'd find in a game. They've got like a metal pipe.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, after that, Kana and Paxton make it to the train station. They're trying to sort of finalize their escape. But Kana's had
There's
a gut
police
spill.
roadblock blow. People are
Oh yeah,
beating each other up, and they're overcome. They just sort of speed away from the roadblock, get to the station. The police are coming around here.
they go on foot. They jump out the car, don't they, and run through the
Yes,
run through the forest. Yeah. So when they get there, but Kana sees a reflection of her disfigured face, and she's like, absolutely not. Not only is it like exposed to the elements, and they're just walking through public, and you think people will go, "What the fuck, Harvey Two-Face over there?" You think you'd cover it with something?
I mean, I know everyone else would mock her in that film, but you think that someone might go, "Look, Manel, not everyone in this country's evil. Do you want to go to the hospital?"
Yeah, or they might think Paxton's like doing something to her, and they
burn that woman's face off.
Burn that woman's face off. But yeah, then she leaps into front of an oncoming train, gets smushed underneath the train, and then blood squirts all over some like elderly women. Which is pretty nuts. Obviously, it attracts the attention, allows Paxton to board another train unnoticed, and he's away.
Because the first thing, if a woman jumped in front of a train, the thing that the train people would do is, right, make sure all the other trains continue to run.
Yeah. That train is just leaving. Let it leave, will you? It's got to leave.
We don't want it. We don't want too many people rubbernecking this, so get them out of here. Or maybe they just assumed that is them. Got maybe.
Yeah.
So
when he's on the train, he thinks it's all over, but then he hears the voice of a familiar voice of that Dutch businessman talking again about eating food with his hands. Now,
ham salad.
We're supposed to believe that he's got the same lunch as he had the day before. B, he started eating it, and someone else also said, "Do you need a fork with that, you dirty bastard?" To which he's gone, "Yeah, I did." Actually, my favorite monologue, which is kind of silly, but also the fact that he's ended up on that train. I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of jumps, but yeah, they get to a train station in Vienna. Train stops in Vienna. Paxton follows. So obviously, there's two endings. There's an alternate ending, but I think this is in both, right? So Paxton follows the Dutch businessman, follows him into a restroom, like cuts his fingers off. I mean, he look in Paxton's eyes like he's got a taste for it. And he drowns him in the toilet.
Yeah, he's had a bad one. He doesn't encounter the businessman in the toilet at all in the alternate ending. So you haven't seen the other ending.
No, I mean I'm reading about it here, but no, I haven't seen it.
So in the alternate ending, basically the businessman, I don't understand how this happens. There doesn't appear to be. I don't understand how this guy arrives in Vienna and his daughter's just at the train station.
Yeah,
because she just like goes, "Daddy," and there's no third party. It's not like his wife is there as well.
No, kid's on her own.
It's like she was just hanging out in Vienna, and he goes, "Oh, do give me a second, love. I've just got to nip to the.
I've been caught short."
So he nips off to the toilet, and when he comes out, he's looking for his daughter, and she's missing. And then you literally just see Paxton with his hand over a screaming child's face, thrashing around. He's managed to just get on another train out of the country. He's like, "Ha, my revenge on you is that I've stolen your daughter."
That's mental. Like, you just think, as a kid, I'd just be, first of all, you just want to get out of there safe, wouldn't you? Second of all, you might want to hurt this man for hurting you and your friend or whatever. But that is just like a big step to go. This man is also capable of kidnapping a kid.
Kid to teach him.
We're supposed to believe a second ago that he had enough humanity that he wanted to save somebody, and now we're supposed to believe that he's just happy enough to kidnap a kid.
Well, I guess that was before he ran 3 people over with a car.
Yeah, maybe.
And paid some bad boys to stone some guards to death.
There we go.
So yeah, he does a kidnapping, which, if I may just touch on, Paxton does appear in Hostel Part 2.
Okay.
Spoilers, Ben. I'll do you a very brief opening for Hostel Part 2.
He's not one of the killers now, is he?
No. So we see the train arrive in Italy now. the train arrives in Italy. He's in hospital, and the police are talking to him and saying, "Also, when you do this murder, because we happened to find a Dutch businessman who had a tattoo like this, dead in a toilet in Austria." And he's like, how he got to Italy and is being quizzed there, we don't know. But then he goes, "Was it a tattoo like this? Was it?" And then also the police detective is one of the people in the Bloodhound gang. But turns out that was just a nightmare, so that's okay.
Thank God for that.
Paxton is at his girlfriend's house in a place that is not revealed where, and she says, "I wish you must really see someone about this, and you need to tell Josh's mom that her kid's dead because she thinks he's still in Europe." And he goes, "Oh, look, I will, all right, I will at some point. Anyway, do you want a bowl of crunchy nut cornflakes? I've got to have these. I've got to have this medicine," implying he has been to see someone to get medicine, but I've got to have this medicine with food. And she goes, nah, thanks. I'm just going to go to bed. She gets up in the morning, says good morning to the gardener, goes downstairs, and Josh is just in the kitchen with his, not Josh, Paxton is just in the kitchen with his head chopped off. And later we see his head in a display case.
Lovely.
So yeah, Paxton Alive is only in the first few minutes of the second one. But yeah, that follows that the first ending must have happened.
Yeah.
The theatrical one, not
makes more sense. Not that you've done a kidnap.
Not where he does a kidnap.
Like, this is one step too far. Okay. So that is Hostel. Have you got any name game? You said you had one or two. I haven't got any.
I've got one. Yeah.
One question mark?
One. But I tell you what, let me have a quick look through some other Hostel trivia. We covered a few as we went through. Oh, I tell you what, Ben, I've got a couple of bits of Hostel trivia for you first.
Nice.
One, which famous artist has heritage from Slovakia? His parents both being from there, and in their home village, a poster of their famous artist's son can now be seen along with a museum of some of his work.
An artist?
I would say a modern artist.
As
in modern art, not classical art.
What can I think of his name? Old Soup Cans himself.
It is Old Soup Cans. Andy
Warhol.
Warhol.
Yes,
Andy Warhol's parents are from Slovakia. Other celebrities with Slovakian heritage include Angelina Jolie, John Bon Jovi, and Paul Newman.
Wow. I ain't listened to any Bon Jovi ever again. I'm joking, of course.
Of course, I'm listening to Someday I'll Be Saturday Night just this afternoon. Let's have a look here. I tell you what, Ben. I mean, this is just a bit more trivia, trying to redress the balance of Slovakia's damaged reputation by this film.
Yeah.
There are 8 sites that feature on a certain list from Slovakia. Any guesses of what that 8 lists is? These 8 locations are? They're on a very famous list. You have to watch out for these places.
A famous list?
Yeah, there's a list. 8 locations in Slovakia feature on this list of places, but why are these 8 places of note? Why you got to watch out for them?
Watch out for them because they've got wild wolves on the loose.
Not wild wolves. That would also imply violence. Things you need to worry about. Actually, Ben, it's 8 UNESCO World Heritage sites. So obviously places of great beauty.
No wild wolves, of course.
It says that I think you might get some bears in Slovakia. They have some big stretches of woodland and things. So be careful, obviously, whenever you go out in nature, but no more so than you would anywhere else in Europe. Or anywhere else.
Of course.
One little bit more trivia for you before I give you my one and only name. Well, 2 more bits of trivia for you. So one, do you know that Slovakia has the highest number of what per capita? Make it a question.
The highest number of wolves. No, I'm sorry. Train stations.
Not train stations. It is castles and chateaus.
That was going to be my second answer.
One for everyone.
At least.
Chateaus, yeah. Plenty of chateaus to go around there.
Amazing.
Okay, a little bit of trivia for you. Slovakia is home, of course, to the Carpathian Mountains, or at least part of it. But who, from another horror film, was the scourge of Carpathia?
Play Dracula, wasn't it?
I'm thinking of someone else who is
Oh, what?
specifically referred to as
The scourge of
Carpathia. The scourge of Carpathia. Someone who's famously a Carpathian.
I thought Dracula was.
You would have seen him in some fine art.
No, exactly who it is. It's Vigo.
Vigo is from
Vigo.
Carpathia.
I know exactly. There we go. As soon as you said fine art, I was like, fine art? That painting from Ghostbusters 2, I knew it.
Although, to be fair, I don't know that Vigo was from Carpathia. It said he was the scourge of Carpathia.
He might not have been from there. He might have been from Skegness. Second name drop for Skegness of the episode.
Despite the fact that that Hostel did very bad things for Slovakia's tourist industry at the time, it wasn't actually filmed there. Do you know where it was filmed?
Oh, I bet it wasn't. Was it filmed? Was it still in Europe?
Yes.
Bulgaria.
It was principally filmed just over the way in the Czech Republic.
Oh, right. That's pretty close.
In an abandoned, hospital for some of the sections. I imagine
abandoned mental hospital or something, wouldn't it? Which sounds
I imagine that
up, but...
the actual hostel, bad place, the factory. But yeah, that's what that. So I have one.
Yeah.
So I found one thing here. So for the name game for you today, Ben. So 3 American tourists decide to stay in the US. But unfortunately, actually, let's change it up. When Paxton returns to the US, he would like some help from a famous radio psychiatrist. Finding that doctor is unavailable, he just speaks to his producer on a new telephone service that she's set up.
Jesus Christ. Is it just one word?
Yes, that sounds a bit like Hostel.
Oh, you have to give me a clue.
So
my brain's in the bin.
So Paxton, ever so stressed from the events at Hostel.
Yeah.
So he would like, when he moves home to Seattle, he wants to speak to a famous radio psychiatrist. However, when that person isn't available, he speaks to his radio show's producer via a new telephone service that she has set up.
Jesus Christ. The only things that I can think of, it's Sleepless in Seattle.
Is it something from Seattle? That? Someone who doesn't like tossed salad. Well, he does like tossed salads and scrambled eggs.
I can't think. Fraser, you're getting at.
So, yeah, it's Fraser, but like his producer on the radio show, what's her name?
Oh my God, we could be here all day, Andy. And so I would never, ever get it.
Her name is Roz, and the service she is set up to speak to people over the phone is, of course, Rostel.
Jesus Christ.
Hostel's really hard to come up with name games for.
It really is. It really is. But there we go. It was good. Have you got another one, or is that it? I could do another one.
Okay, I've got one more. So Paxton and his friends are tricked into going to a different holiday location from the way they're planning, only to find they were captured, and really well-off businessmen who are proper sickos pay good money to force victims to have a real good whiff of these strings they've been using to clean their teeth with. It stink horrible.
Strings they've been using to get. The thing is, when you say the clue, it pushes out all the I know the relative information I should have in my. So it's floss.
Yeah.
Floss smell.
Floss smell, correct.
Jesus Christ. Oh, there we go. I got everyone right?
Yeah, all of them, 100%.
I knew it.
And I hope you've learned a little bit, you and the listeners, about Slovakia. I'm certainly considering a holiday there.
That's been good. I've taken a lot away from this episode, more so than I have wanting to watch any more Hostel films. But should I? Should I watch 2 and 3? I don't know.
Oh yeah, I said I'd tell you about them. I think 2's interesting, and the characters are slightly more redeemable.
Mm-hmm.
3, things
3's
take
like in Las Vegas, right?
3's in Vegas, and it's bonkers, and it's about bad blokes again, but some of the baddest blokes of all.
All right.
I'm not against the idea of watching 2. I think 2 you could get something out of, probably in proximity to this, because it plays very nicely as kind of an opposite to this movie.
Yeah. Okay. You. There we go then. So I guess we got to rate the film. How would you rate this? I mean, it's a weird one because I can kind of see. Sorry, I will jump in there then. I'm going to go for a D-, and the reason being, I have avoided this for so long based on the fact that I just never thought it was going to be my cup of tea, and it wasn't. You know, some films that you would consider torture porn, essentially, I've seen, and I would always say that they're not. They haven't got many redeemable qualities. It's difficult to look at these films and say that's one of my favorites. I just feel like both ends of the spectrum in this film have aged badly. Again, I can imagine watching it in 2005 and thinking it had something to enjoy. But with this, the first half of the film is just unpleasant for reasons you probably wouldn't expect for a film like this. Just unpleasant. Like the characters, they got no redeemable qualities. The script is like proper naff. That's why I'm annoyed by the fact it's like Quentin Tarantino presents like one of the best like writers of dialogue. I mean, some people agree with that, some people don't, but it was still like got a certain something about his dialogue. And I know he didn't write the script, of course, but the fact that he's put his name to it has made me feel like, oh, really? And then just yeah, I know it's the first of this sort of wave of Americanized torture porn films, but even the violence and the torture stuff just doesn't hit home for me. I just think it's a really weird film with, I don't know, just something about it is unpleasant. It's kind of got a nasty streak to it. But yeah, maybe I'll check out the second one, see if that's any better, because you know sometimes you watch a film and you're a bit like, all right, where's it going? Just get to a point where it can end satisfying. And I feel like it got to that point 3 or 4 times, but just kept going. Oh, now they're on a train. What's that? He's followed him into the toilet. Jesus Christ, he's going crazy. So yeah, I think a D-, but maybe if I saw it in 2005, I would have been more inclined to have enjoyed it. But now, 2023, for the first time, don't think so.
It's a harder pill to swallow.
Yeah.
Much the same as you've been, maybe slightly higher. I'm going to go for. Do I go as high as a D plus?
Oh, okay.
No, I'm gonna stick. I'm gonna stick with a D, and that's not to damn it entirely. I think it's worth saying that it is less enjoyable to watch, and it suffers, as you say, from its age, from not things you'd expect. I think for its time, it's an interestingly popularized genre of more extreme horror. Maybe it's opened up windows to that for other people.
Yeah.
Would things like Terrifier exist today if not for beyond other things like the kind of gratuity that Hostel brought about? I haven't said I was going to share this earlier, but Hostel is the reason my wife has sworn off like this type of horror movie. She won't watch it because she did see Hostel with one of her friends and she found it very off-putting at the time.
Yeah.
I'm not about to make her watch it again to see if her opinion has changed or it's dulled in the time. But I think the thing that it has most suffered from age-wise is just the attitudes and the dialogue. It makes for quite an uncomfortable watch because genuinely, I don't think a lot of people do talk like that now around the.
Yeah.
If there is something or a group that you could be against in this film, it casually is against that, whether it's attitudes to women as objects, to sexuality, to genuinely there is quite a deep sense of xenophobia about it at the beginning as well, with a short-sightedness that is not necessarily even, obviously the Slovakian tourist board had strong feelings about it, but there is an overall sense of a distrust of that which is foreign and different, and a slight antagonism against the people who are not speaking a language you understand and they're being conspiratorial. Do I think this film is solely responsible for Brexit? Probably not, but it does make some uncomfortable.
Eli Roth was pretty
watching
quiet.
Some of the attitude that was him speaking out. Like there are some parts that make it a difficult and less pleasant watch, and you do struggle because Paxton, until he's your hero and he's the only person that's left in it that is still alive, he has that
probably one of the least likable out of the three. Like
deeply unpleasant to begin with, right? So it makes it difficult for that sense. And then again, if you are watching it because you are looking for an extreme horror, it probably has lost that sheen and its edge versus many things that have come since. There's been other examples. I was about to pull one, but I'm now blanking on the title. The Australian one about the prom night girl. It's the girl with the prom night and the drill. The Loved Ones.
The Loved Ones. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. I think that probably does. I mean, it's got the advantage of being at least 10 years older, but for the extremity, like, 'cause you still get some cutaways in this type of thing. Like, not a lot of the actual stuff is on screen,
definitely.
right? The Achilles getting lots of it is implied. But that rambling around is my reason for giving it a D. Not completely without merits. I'm glad we've watched it for the show and covered it, but I think those elements have dated it quite severely.
Yeah, most definitely.
Not a timeless classic like Sleepaway Camp.
No. Okay. So there we go. That's Hostel. Thanks for listening. Obviously, thank you to Janine for joining us for the first 2/3 of this episode. Obviously, if you want to keep up to date with Janine's projects that we talked about all at the start of the show, she's on Twitter at JaninePipe28, and she's always posting over there. So go and give her a follow. And thanks to everybody else for listening. If you enjoyed the show, become a patron over at patreon.com/horror hangout. Thanks to our current patrons: John Crinham, Ben Scaife, Stephen Christopher, Toby Miller, Scott Rigby, Lane Spencer, Ollie Child, Leslie Carlo, Julia Bilger, Nick Spill, Troy Bursch, Rosalind Harnias, and Pazuzu. Extra thanks to all of our patrons because of the patrons supporting us month in, month out. That is one of the reasons why we're actually been able to make it to Fright Fest this time around. So that is really appreciated, and we will pay you back in kind with plenty of coverage from that event.
Fright Fest content for days. I'm happy to report, Ben, I have started on my second preview write-up already, so it's all coming along. We're going to find some more films to preview. We're going to give you some things to look forward to, and we are going to come up with some people to talk to, some things we can cover while we're there. I don't think we're not making any secret of it. Our objective going into Fright Fest is to do some of the best coverage you'll find anywhere, in my opinion.
Hell yes, that's right. Go in with it, keep expectations nice and high. And we will be recording like a short bonus episode discussing just in case you don't want to read through Andy's lovely articles. Have something in an audio form as well. Lovely.
Yeah.
So yeah, there we go. Next week. Thanks to Taj Easton for our theme music. Thanks to Acast for hosting the show. Please consider giving us a rating or review. Head over to Facebook group Horror Hangout Board of Advisors for more. We're on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. And next week, just in time for Shark Week, we're covering Jaws 2.
Oh, can't wait. Oh, Ben, I didn't conjure this earlier with all the other excitement, but just before we started, after the message we had last week when we were doing 28 weeks later, Stephen Christopher in the group has actually sent in his pitch for. We invite people to do it. He sent in his pitch for what a 28 whatevers later would be.
Yeah.
When we get around to recording a bonus on that, I think open doors. If anyone else wants to send them in, I'm happy to read some of those out. I won't read it in now, but thanks for sending that in, Steve. And I'm going to have a proper read of it and react properly shortly.
Yeah,
but
great idea.
Be it this, be it anyone, got another Hostel film you'd pitch. How did you feel about the series? Where do you think it went? Where would you love to see it go if it carried on? That's what these socials are for. Facebook, so you can
Awesome.
do big write-ins, or if you've got just a little thought you want to share, any of those other platforms, your Twitters and whatnot, get them over.
Spectacular. There we go. Thanks everybody for listening, and of course, thank you, Andy, for being a right horror dude.
Thanks you, Ben, for being the right horror dude, and thanks indeed to everybody. Be careful when you're traveling out there, everyone. But be rest assured, Slovakia, I'll repeat from travelsafe.org, very, very low crime rate, even by European standards. So go and
it's
enjoy.
unlikely you will get hosteled, but still try not to get hosteled.
Yeah, do be careful. If Chesney Hawkes makes any recommendations of kind of off the beaten track places,
Smash his digital camera out of his hand and run away. Goodbye now.
Bye now. Bye.
See ya.